Chapter 1248 The Heart Desire Palace. Wang Wei secretly exhaled to remove these scary thoughts from his mind before focusing on the current situation. I cannot promise you freedom. However, I can make life easier for you. No more prison or torture, just a regular captive. That is not good enough, Blackheart replied. Take it or leave it, Wang Wei said. I'll leave it, Empyrean Blackheart replied without hesitation. Wang Wei looked him in the eyes. He suddenly realized something. Why is your primary concern about your freedom but not your death? He saw no fear of death in this man's face, which was odd given his situation. Because I know you won't dare kill me after learning the truth. Wang Wei frowned. This man was telling the truth. He saw the great conviction behind these words. I don't like how confidently you said these words. Empyrean Blackheart snorted coldly. In that case, I'm just going to kill you without asking. I think whatever trouble comes afterward, I can use this excuse as plausible deniability, Wang Wei said as he stood up. He pointed his right hand at Blackheart and condensed a thick black energy full of death power. Wait! Blackheart yelled, immediately panicking. He realized Wang Wei was telling the truth. We can negotiate. However, Wang Wei did not listen to him and prepared to fire the death energy. I'm from the Heart Desire Palace, Blackheart yelled, making Wang Wei stop. Them? Monk suddenly commented. You've heard of it? Wang Wei asked. Once, Monk replied. The sect elders warned me to stay away and not antagonize these people. I tried asking more questions, but no one would elaborate, stating I would know more when I become more powerful. Wang Wei nodded. His situation was the same as Monk's. In the book, his wife left for him and warned him not to mess or deal with two factions, one of which was the Heart Desire Palace, to be precise, the Ji family behind the palace. He remembered her waning because she said this should be the case even after becoming a peak boundless paragon. Keep talking, Wang Wei ordered. The Heart Desire Palace is a faction that has spread to many worlds in primordial chaos, Blackheart stated. Its members track down people with intense emotions and obsessions, and we acquire their souls through making deals with them. Zhen Chao was a customer, my first customer, to be specific. Wang Wei pondered. Strong emotions and obsessions are one of the most potent forces of the universe, even capable of breaking the rules and creating miracles. The fact that the Heart Desire Palace, or the Ji family, was amassing its power was concerning. How were you able to contact him? Wang Wei asked. All members have a desire map to detect our primary customers, Blackheart responded. After detecting he met the requirements, I just sent him the summoning ceremony. There were no restrictions or interference from true heavenly Tao. So, it just ignored him? Wang Wei could think of a few reasons, but he did not like any of them. Was that a projection or your genuine body when we met in the lower dimension? It was me. Of course, Wang Wei's eyes twitched. This was a blatant disregard for the rules. He took a moment to gather his thoughts, trying to find an explanation. A few seconds later, he focused on the prisoner. There are still a few things that do not make sense, Wang Wei continued. If your palace is such a powerful place, why couldn't you have run away from Monk? From this place? More importantly, why did Empress Wu's name scare you during my trial? I've only recently acquired my desire map, and it's the lowest level. That's the only reason you captured me, Blackheart swiftly explained. As for your second question? Well, the palace's motto is that we do not fear trouble but do not seek it. I would be responsible if I antagonize someone like Empress Wu. Wang Wei learned two things from Blackheart's explanation. The Heart Desire Palace functioned with a hierarchical system, which was probably very strict. Secondly, this man was not telling the complete truth. Did the Dark Eyes clan join the palace? Is that why they suffered no consequences despite being from the Devil clan? Do you finally understand the kind of power you're dealing with? Blackheart sneered. You can kill me, but you best consider the consequences. Why are you talking as if death was the worst fate someone can experience? Wang Wei calmly rebutted. He summoned his 11 fate palaces and used them to place a terrifying seal that put Blackheart into a world where he would literally experience the worst fate possible. Wang Wei and Monk then walked out of the prison. What are we going to do about him? He seems to be an unstable variable? Monk asked. I want to kill him, but I must make sure there are no issues afterward, Wang Wei explained. After returning to his abode, he used a talisman to contact his ancestor. Oh, you're calling me so soon? You must want something, Yan Hai directly stated. Ancestor, couldn't I just want to chat and bathe in the glory of your presence? Wang Wei stated without a shame. I'm a busy woman, so get on with it, Yan Hai declared, resisting the urge to roll her eyes. I met someone from the Heart Desire Palace. Yan Hai's demeanor immediately changed. Did you kill them? And were you at fault? No. Tell me what happens, don't leave any detail, she asked swiftly, something Wang Wei caught on. So, he explained the situation without leaving any important details. An Empyrean with a low-level map? In that case, it would have been fine if you killed him. They should give our sect this small amount of face. Why does your tone indicate that an Empyrean is useless to them? The Ji family values the palace's internal members compared to the others, and their recruitment process does not value cultivation as much as your affinity with emotions, desires, and the soul. Wang Wei squinted. So, I can kill Blackheart? Yes, but I wouldn't recommend it, Yan Hai explained. The palace operates in a neutral system, but they also protect their members. If you kill him, someone will come to investigate. Given Blackheart's low level and the fact you're not at fault, they won't cause you trouble. However, you know the current situation of our world. If these people intervene, even if not directly, things will become more complicated and escalate into, well, I don't even know. You have a point, Wang Wei nodded. But I'm confused. What makes the Heart Desire Palace, no, the Ji family, so feared that even you're careful when speaking about them? Yan Hai looked him directly in the eyes. Kid, I know you are wise beyond your years or your realm, but there is such a thing as too much on your plate. You have plenty to do now, so don't add unnecessary stress to yourself. All you need to know is stay away from these people, don't antagonize them if you have to deal with them, and no matter what, don't make any contracts with them. Understand? Wang Wei could tell she would not say more. I understand. Good, Yan Hai nodded. You should be preparing to meet my future daughter-in-law at Sun Junyo's celebration. Do you need any advice on how to proceed? As if I would seek advice from someone who's been eternally celibate, Wang Wei thought to himself. Yan Hai's eyes suddenly turned fierce. You just thought something offensive, didn't you? Boy, don't you know my sword can reach you instantly with a thought? Ancestor, don't sully my character, Wang Wei swiftly said. I was thinking of what appropriate advice to ask. Yan Hai snorted coldly. You've ruined the moment. Anyway, you better not mess things with her. I have plans to lord over my seniority over her for eternity. I'll never forgive you if you ruin this for me. I promise I won't. You better not. Yan Hai ended the communication, leaving Wang Wei alone to smile wryly. Is this marriage for me or you? He complained. He sighed before focusing on the present. He did not need to worry too much about the Heart Desire Palace since he wouldn't contact them until he traveled through primordial chaos. However, this incident reminded me of something I've overlooked. Foreign forces, Wang Wei thought. The parasites are holding the front line, but what if someone breaks through or they give up protecting the world? What will happen? He took this moment to deduce the future. In the best-case scenario, Mithria and Supreme Unity will stop their fighting and stop the invaders. Then they would continue their fights. The worst-case scenario is they stop the invasion and return to overlook the situation. I would rather not deal with a present Supreme Unity, even with Mithria's protection. The middle scenario is they keep fighting and allow these foreigners to interfere in the world's current affairs. The situation is also wrong since my priority will not be these weak parasites but some of the most mighty paragons from primordial chaos. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1249 Gu Xian's Treasury. Wang Wei could not think of a good solution. The best option would be for these transcendent beings to allow the paragons from Limbo to return to the world to deal with the situation, But this plan is also complicated. It seems Mithraea no longer requires the world to be peaceful, so she might support the Paragon's return. However, supreme unity is another thing. Wang Wei pondered. It would be great if they could come up with an agreement. For example, the Limbo Paragons can return, but they can only stay outside of the world. However, Wang Wei doesn't know whether supreme unity would accept such an agreement. This plan is a no-go, so I need something else, Wang Wei thought. Maybe the escaped Paragons? He did not believe Mithraea and supreme unity eliminated every Paragon left in the world for a single reason. They were not powerful enough, at least when they tried it. Wang Wei conjectured that these two did not leave the ultimate taboo as half-step transcendence. If that were the case, they would not need heaven and earth in a peaceful state for them to cultivate. They were probably in the transition phase of becoming half-step transcendence, making their powers leagues ahead of even the best boundless Paragon. Their strength at that time meant plenty of room for a few Paragons to escape and survive. So, Wang Wei's plan was for them to return and deal with these foreign invaders. This plan is even worse than the first one, Wang Wei smiled wryly. These Paragons would be extremely careful if they return, and that is if they choose to return. Additionally, these people must have scattered in countless worlds throughout primordial chaos, meaning Wang Wei had no way of knowing who escaped or how to contact them. Chen Tong would be an excellent choice for such a situation, Wang Wei thought. He's powerful, already has enough resources to revive himself, and he doesn't seem like the kind who can remain indifferent to the situation of his homeworld. Wang Wei then smiled wryly. He exiled Chen Tong into the source chi space, but he did not know exactly where. In other words, finding him would be worse than searching for a needle in a haystack. So, unless Chen Tong chooses to show himself, there is no need to consider him for any plan. The only solution left is for the ancestor and my future wife to sit on the frontier and intimidate everyone else, Wang Wei concluded. He sighed before muttering, hopefully, I'm overthinking, and those two chose a temporary truce when dealing with these foreign invaders. He slowly stood up from his cushion and teleported away. He wished to use the treasure from Gu Xian's treasury to relieve his current stress. Wang Wei appeared on a desolate planet on top of a volcano spewing blue lava. He pointed into the void to open a secret dimension. However, Wang Wei did not go in as he knew this was a decoy. Instead, he gathered a unique aura before teleporting to 10 more locations and doing the same. He condensed a token from the aura of all these decoy dimensions and activated it. However, Wang Wei did not enter this one as well. Instead, he entered the 7th decoy dimension. That bastard took the word deception to the core, didn't he? Wang Wei complained. I hope this bastard has some useful stuff. Wang Wei did not have all of Gu Xian's memories, but he knew these resources should be high-end since the bastard had prepared them for his future rise after becoming an unparalleled genius. Wang Wei smiled after seeing the inside of this dimension. He first checked a few talismans with cultivation techniques. This soul technique is decent, Wang Wei commented. Gu Xian had a soul cultivation technique that could cultivate a paragon soul. Although this technique was not top-notch, he could still use it for his subordinates. As for himself? Well, Wang Wei needed to start cultivating his soul like everybody else, but he didn't have to worry about cultivation techniques since his Wu Hong left him one of the best soul techniques. Wang Wei checked the other talisman, and he found something interesting. Gu Xian was working on turning his heaven deception art into a longevity technique usable for tier 11 and 12. Although he failed, there should be enough data to succeed in his stead. He turned to the last interesting talisman, which contained a body refining technique called Thunder Body Refining Scripture. So, he also planned to walk the true power Dao realm? He was indeed ambitious. Wang Wei flipped through it and decided it might be helpful to his creation lifeforms to pass their tribulation. He put everything away before focusing on the other resources. The ones for tier 10 were the most abundant and contained the rarest types of resources. Sadly, they were useless to him. His gaze then focused on the Empyrean tier resources, and he immediately noticed two things appealing to him. Fiend God Heaven Pill and Gentian Fruits, Wang Wei commented with shining eyes. The pill would help him ascend in the adult Fiend God realm, while the Gentian Fruit assisted in the body will fusion. With those 2 finds, Wang Wei was satisfied with this treasury, so he put them and everything else away before focusing on the small Tier 12 piles. Firstly, there were 5 Dao Monarch puppets, which Gu Xian probably prepared to serve as his Dao protector after acquiring a talented body. After all, talent did not mean strength, and Gu Xian, who understood that clearly, prepared in case something went wrong. The second thing in this section was a small pile of purple stones, which he recognized as 3rd-rank Dao sources. Wang Wei nodded as using these sources to cultivate in the Empyrean realm should significantly accelerate things, albeit it would be a waste given how rare or valuable they are. The third thing in this section was another small pile of white stones with a vision of dragons circling on their inside. Primal luck stone, Wang Wei uttered. Gu Xian prepared enough for him to turn his Qi luck 75% white. Wang Wei's luck was already white, so this thing was useless to him. However, he can put it in his changing fate hall or use it with the new subordinates he has just acquired in the lawless zone. His gaze then focused on the last valuable thing in this section. This pile was the largest, and it contained crystals that resembled diamonds with a small sun at the center, like a diamond holding a small sun inside. Soul King Essence? And so much? Did he accidentally find a mine? Wang Wei muttered. The soul is crucial to paragons. They must cultivate its quality and quantity. Soul King Essence is the best material to raise the quantity of a paragon soul. This pile was probably the most valuable thing in this secret treasury, so Wang Wei happily accepted them. The overall result was satisfactory, even though only a few things were helpful to him. However, Gu Xian seemed to plan to build a faction, so he also left many valuable things, like immortal Qi pools, countless Dao source seeds, and a few heaven wills. Wang Wei returned to the Azure Sky Pavilion, and he immediately ordered everyone to prepare for the evacuation. Everyone was prepared, so more than 90% of the lawless zone's population left after a month, leaving the rest to keep things operating regularly. Wang Wei plans to use the lawless zone as another base and a place to recruit people. As long as no one knows something has conquered the lawless zone, many people should see it as a place of safety and run there, not knowing they are heading into the mouth of a beast. The team did not return through the entrance as that would alert too many people. Instead, they entered the source Qi space before teleporting to the Dao burial ground. Before leaving, Wang Wei talked with Old Man Dai about his junior brother's response, and unfortunately, the latter rejected his proposal. Wang Wei was not too disappointed since he expected this, and Old Man Dai warned him. After returning to his base, Wang Wei first learned Wang Qi was out, so he summoned him. While waiting, he introduced the new team to his Shadow Fate Guard, especially Red Mask Fate. I need you to do 2 things. The first one is a priority, but you can take your time with the second, Wang Wei said to Red Mask. Firstly, introduce the members from the Dark Cloud Pavilion. Their leader, Dark Cloud, has a unique talent, and you must put it to good use, Wang Wei explained. The second thing is to find any news about this girl called Chinjila, her master, and their connection to the Blood Dragon. They'll get it done, Red Mask responded. But, do you have anything to report? Nothing important, but here is a summary of what you need to know. Wang Wei received the information from the talisman, and as she said, nothing significant occurred in just 100 years. However, the fact that there were no problems was good news. Wang Qi is back? A few seconds later, Wang Qi rushed into the room. Patriarch, were you trying to eliminate me secretly? Wang Qi paused after noticing all the people inside, and his expression became severe after noticing their aura, cultivation, and strength. He coughed to himself to hide his embarrassment. What happened? Wang Wei asked. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1250 Another Great Variable, Unedited Chapter. Wang Qi did not immediately answer but looked at the people next to Wang Wei. Don't worry about them since they are my people now, Wang Wei reassured. Then he motioned to everyone else. This is Wang Qi. Don't look at his cultivation. He is the steward of my operations and thus holds my complete trust. Show him some respect when dealing with him. Monk was the first to salute Wang Qi, and the others followed. Wang Qi returned the salute while secretly honored that these big men would lower their heads to show him respect. However, he also understood this was not due to him but because of the patriarch. He also resolved himself to increase his cultivation as soon as possible to earn that respect. Tell me what made you so excited? Wang Wei continued. The brilliant Smile Emperor was captured, Wang Qi swiftly replied. By who? The 5-feather phoenix people, Wang Qi explained. Is it because of his ascension? Yes. The fact that he brought an entire world caught the attention of many, so he was captured along with the Skyfall world. This might be major trouble, Wang Wei grunted. It is. Wang Qi asked, and he was not the only one puzzled. I was careful so no one found out I was looking for him. Plus, the brilliant Smile Emperor is only a talented emperor. He shouldn't be that important. You're not seeing the bigger picture, Wang Wei stated. For many years, no one thought about ascending an entire world, and even if they did, it was not such a popular idea. Now, what do you think will happen if the parasites began to plan to ascend worlds from the lower dimension forcefully? There are rules, aren't there? Wang Qi asked. They can't just send a projection to force a world ascension. They can still send people down there to do their bidding within the limit of the rules, Monk added. They have enough time to plan this out for generations if not eras. But the brilliant Smile Emperor's success cannot be easily replicated. Someone would need to convince over 70% of the world's top faction to aid him in the ascension, Wang Qi rebutted. Or force them to obey, Dulgun added. It's easy for an emperor to gain enough power to dominate a world in the lower dimension. Also, convincing an entire world is not as hard as you imagine, added the second prince, Jiaping. With the promise of immortality, many worlds without top factions connecting to the upper world will gladly accept such an offer. All of you are still scratching the surface, Wang Wei added. The real problem is supreme unity. He doesn't have the limitations of the parasites, so he could technically take any worlds from the lower dimension that he pleases. But why would he need to do that? He did not know enough about the two suns to deduce where Wang Wei was going with his analysis. It's about gaining control, Wang Wei explained. He's in a fight for absolute control over the entire world, and forcing all the worlds into the lower dimension is an excellent way to weaken true heavenly Tao and take control. He doesn't need all of them, he only needs the Myriad Emperor world. The Myriad Emperor world is the destiny center of the lower dimension. So, it should increase his control if he gets his hand on it, Dulgun added. This won't happen, right? Wang Qi asked after figuring out how dangerous the situation was. True heavenly Tao and Mithria should stop him, but now, this possibility has become another variable to the overall situation. Wang Wei sighed, slightly blaming himself. He would have stopped the brilliant Smile Emperor if he had figured this out long before. So, what should we do now? Someone asked. There is nothing we can do currently except for killing these parasites and return the world to its time of prosperity, which will, in turn, strengthen true heavenly Tao, Wang Wei added. What about the brilliant Smile Emperor? What do we do with him? Wang Qi asked. Maybe we can rescue him later, but as of now, he's not our priority, Wang Wei decided. Anything else I need to know? There is good and bad news, Wang Qi said. The good news is Xiao Tiandi will provide you with an invitation to Sun Junyo's banquet, but he wants to meet you first. That's fine. What's the bad news? There is some trouble with the rebellion, Wang Qi explained. They refused to release Zhen Baiyu's contract. Wang Wei frowned. He agreed with Zhen Baiyu that she would report to him now instead of the rebellion. However, it seems these people are refusing to release such an asset. So, they won't give me face, huh? Wang Wei sneered. Contact them immediately. Fine-tune the formation so the person on the other side can feel everything. Wang Wei then ordered his men. Hide your faces but release your auras. Monk, hide your body shape. Wang Qi fetched the formation disc used to contact the rebellion in the secret realms. After modifying it accordingly, he returned it to the meeting room and activated it. On the other side was a middle-aged man in yellow with a straight face and fierce eyes. His visage indicated he was not the kind of person who smiled often. However, as soon as he answered the communication, his complexion faltered as these powerful auras assaulted his senses. What is the meaning of this? Wang Wei did not answer but looked at Wang Qi. Who is he? He's the temporary leader, Empyrean Fierce Tiger, Wang Qi explained. Wasn't our communication with someone called Old Ma? It was, but he suddenly took over after our request. So, internal fighting for power? Wang Wei sneered. They've been without a leader for a couple of thousand years, and they are already crumbling from the inside. No wonder their cause didn't get any traction until I revitalized them with these superb talents. Bold words, said Fierce Tiger, eyes flashing red momentarily. He had calmed down by now and successfully resisted the pressure of everyone else. Of course, he's lucky Wang Wei did not participate in this activity. Are they? Wang Wei finally looked at him. Empyrean Jimin was a capable leader, but your cause did not have much traction or success until I sent my people, blessing you with their tremendous luck and destiny. Now, I ask for a simple request to relinquish control of one of them after I repay what they owe, but this is your response. But your response was not simple, Fierce Tiger responded, trying a softer approach after realizing this person, likely the destined one, had already built such a powerful force in such a short period. Zhen Baiyu's status and situation had made her a valuable asset, maybe above the others. Her role is integral for us to keep tabs on Taoism. That's why I offered to share the information she provides, Wang Wei countered. But here comes the issue, we cannot trust you regarding something of such significance. Who's we? Wang Wei asked. Your entire cause, or your faction that suddenly took power after Empyrean Jimin's disappearance? Fierce Tiger could not answer. I've been working fine with them so far, and we've established some level of trust. If you had an issue with complete separation from Zhen Baiyu's contract, you could have talked to me to reach a compromise. Instead, you outright rejected my request. Such a way of behaving tells me a lot about how your moronic faction operates. No need to be rude. We've shown you enough respect. That's because I have a decent power, faction, and destiny on my side. I can tell you how you were about to treat me had I not given you a warning. Wang Wei cut him off. At this point, Fierce Tiger had flames gushing out his eyes due to his anger. Tell me, Wang Wei continued, how many of the people I sent do you think will continue working for you after their contracts end? Especially if I sent the words out of our falling out or the fact I've built a better resistance. How many do you think? 80%? Probably as high as 90, right? Fierce Tiger did not answer. Release the contract or not, Wang Wei continued. But remember that your choice will decide our relationship move forward from now on. Wang Wei waved his hand to end the communication, and he immediately looked at Red Mask. How is your infiltration of the rebellion? Decent. We've infiltrated many lower-tier factions and a few middle-tier ones, Red Mask replied truthfully. Accelerate the speed, Wang Wei ordered. Additionally, find out how many people know about Zhen Baiyu's status as a double spy. I don't trust these bastards not to reveal it out of spite. It will done, Red Mask bowed, disappearing to get started on her task immediately. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1251 The Top 5 Physiques. Author's note. There is a retcon. The Wuji Tao physique was the 5th heavenly physique, but now, it's the 6th. After the debacle with the rebellion, Wang Wei contacted Xiao Tiandi, and they chose a meeting place. However, Wang Wei did not directly head there but detoured to a small temple near the border of Buddhism territory. He ensured no one was around, and he isolated the space before talking to a statue of Maitreya. Forgive the intrusion, but I came to warn you of something. I don't know if you are already aware, but I think I should mention it just in case, Wang Wei stated before telling her about the brilliant Smile Emperor and his worry. He waited for a response, but nothing occurred. Wang Wei sighed and was about to live in disappointment when the statue released a golden light for a few seconds before returning to normal. Wang Wei sighed in relief and bowed again before teleporting away. His next destination was a small domain called the Red Plateau Land, situated between the Undead Emperor and 5 Feather Phoenixes territory. This place was an indication of these people's relationship, as members of both their factions often clashed on this border. Many outlaws, including the rebellion, have bases on the Red Plateau land, as it was an excellent hiding place and a great way to gather information. Of course, these 2 parasites have cleaned up this place a few times. As such, it was a skill to be able to keep a base in this place, as you needed to evade the sudden cleanups. The resentment in this place is intense, Wang Wei noted as he observed this place. Now that I think about it, the overall resentment of the entire Eternal Ascension world should have been much higher. The parasites and the 2 sons killed many people to keep their reign. Additionally, they created a second potent source of resentment by exploiting most of the world's resources, turning the lives of mortals and cultivators into a living hell. Wang Wei raised his head to look at the entire world's destiny. It's indeed odd. The resentment should be noticeable and affect the overall destiny of the whole world, but there is nothing. Did Supreme Unity and Mithriya deal with it? Such an explanation does not make sense. Supreme Unity wants the world to be weak, while Mithriya does not, meaning such an issue should have been one where they balance each other, thus ensuring nothing was done, which would, in fact, benefit Supreme Unity. Alright, let's add it to the list of things to investigate, Wang Wei thought as he headed to his destination. He soon found himself above a small lake with a pagoda at the center, surrounded by flowers and a rainbow arc above. Since when were you so cultured? Wang Wei commented. You don't know me well enough to make that statement, Xiao Tiandi replied. He wore a luxurious black and purple robe, a gold ornament to hold his bun, and a jade hanging on his waist. His appearance was leagues compared to when Wang Wei last saw him, but more importantly was his eyes, demeanor, and aura. His depressing aura was gone, replaced by a bright, lively young master who loved art and poetry. His eyes were full of life, full of passion, determination, and a sense of duty, a sense of purpose. Xiao Tiandi was a new man in every way possible. Su sure warned me about you, but seeing it in person is somewhat disheartening, Xiao Tiandi commented while smiling wryly. Wang Wei was one of the main catalysts for his change, so he wanted to shock the latter when they next met. He was even prepared to restart the rivalry of the 2 physiques as a way to motivate him, but Wang Wei was already in the middle stages of the Empyrean realm. I had a feeling that woman was telling my business everywhere. Good to know my instinct was correct, Wang Wei commented as he sat down opposite Xiao Tiandi. Look at you. You're a completely different person, he commented. Xiao Tiandi's current cultivation was 50%, which shows how much he has improved since their last meeting. However, this was not the most promising thing about him, nor was it that he succeeded in achieving a 5-root-9 extremity foundation before proving the Tao. His most impressive achievements were the fact he was a Tao Lord and that he awakened his physique for a second time. Heavenly physiques in the upper and lower dimensions differed in their purpose and the fact that some have an awakening process. Lower dimension physiques are created to cultivate powerful emperors with good Taos, while the top 5 upper dimensions focused on cultivating paragons, while the lower 5 focused on cultivating Empyreans. The first physique, the innate Grand Tao Source physique, was one of the few with an awakening process. The first awakening can be achieved after its owner proves the Tao, resulting in an ability called the Grand Tao Map. The map contains a detailed explanation of all 3,800 primary Taos. If the owner of the physique can achieve the third awakening, the map will provide a detailed explanation all the way to 100% of all 3,800 Grand Taos. Technically speaking, the first physique has a lower understanding than the second, but the map makes up for the gap. It could even be argued that they are better because the map was like having an explanation/outline of all Taos created by Grand Tao. On top of that, the physique owner can allow other people to use the map, which is why many factions always do everything possible to acquire people with that physique. Sadly, everything is balanced. Awakening the physique is extremely difficult, especially if you wish to do it above your realm, as Xiao Tiandi did. Many people died in the process of awakening these physiques. Thanks to you, Xiao Tiandi replied while secretly observing Wang Wei. He had finally confirmed something. This bastard was an anomaly born with a soul quantity already reaching the paragon level. Xiao Tiandi was secretly jealous. The fifth heavenly physique was called the Tao Mind Physique, and there was no awakening, and its owner was born with a terrifying Tao heart and willpower. After a bit of cultivation, they can pass what is arguably the hardest aspect of becoming a paragon, the time-washing tribulation. The fourth physique, Grand Fortune Physique, grants its owner white luck. In other words, the owner is born with a paragon level of luck. The third one is the Prime Essence Physique, and this one is dedicated to inextinguishable paragons. The owner can achieve immortality after absorbing the heaven will instead of being limited to 1 yuan epoch of lifespan like other true power Tao realm. They only need to survive 3,800 tribulations to achieve limit indestructibility, and their will is already fused with their body, thus skipping this step to open the gate of flesh. Of course, they still need to temper their willpower. Then, there is the second physique, the innate paragon soul. It grants its owner a paragon quality soul and makes it easier to cultivate its quantity. Cultivating a paragon soul can be the most time-consuming aspect of entering the paragon realm, the most resources required, and arguably the second or third most difficult aspect of the process. He had already met the soul and luck requirement, leaving the cultivation realm, the immeasurable tribulation, and the Tao heart requirement to pass the time-washing heart tribulation, Xiao Tiandi analyzed. From what I know about this bastard, his Tao heart is solid and only needs some time to temper it. In other words, he only needs to reach 90% of his understanding and pass the tribulation, and he'll be a paragon. Meanwhile, Xiao Tiandi did not like the fact he was left behind or the fact Wang Wei was now technically in the same generation as his master due to his cultivation realm. On top of everything else, he wanted to beat this guy up at least once. Yes, Wang Wei helped wake him up from his slumber state, but he did not appreciate the way he went about it. As such, he wanted to show him off before putting everything behind him. But what can I do to accelerate my cultivation? His master was already providing him with the best resources. The other solution was merit, but that's not available in large quantities. He had access to the best time acceleration resource, so unless he found a unique treasure like Emperor Kong, he could do nothing. Chaos Tao, huh? Wang Wei asked. It makes sense. The innate Tao source was perfect for cultivating Chaos Tao. It was probably created for that purpose. Additionally, the physique even allowed its owner to only pass the outlaw trial and not the supreme trial to cultivate Chaos Tao. So, why did you want to see me? Wang Wei asked. Xiao Tiandi did not answer but took out a small mirror and glanced at it. I knew it, he uttered before looking at Wang Wei with a fierce gaze. What's your intention with my master? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1252 Invitation. Wow. What's with the sudden aggression and hostility? Wang Wei asked. When we first thought, I felt you had some kind of connection with my master. At first, I thought I was thinking too much, but now, I just checked, and your destiny resonated with hers, Xiao Tiandi stated with red eyes. She told me about her fate nexus and her fated love. Are you the bastard fate chose for her? So, what if I were? Wang Wei asked calmly. You're not worthy. Oh, do tell me how I'm not worthy of her. Xiao Tiandi opened his mouth to say something but almost choked on the words as he forcefully stopped himself. Wang Wei was handsome, his strength was very high considering his age, his talent reached the top of the world, and his background was amongst the best in the world. By all categories, he was perfect for Sun Junyao. All these facts made Xiao Tiandi speechless. Luckily for him, Wang Wei was hiding his perfect aura. Otherwise, it would be evident that these two were perfect for each other. You're married, Xiao Tiandi suddenly said as if he had found a lifeline at the last possible second. So, Wang Wei replied. It's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 33 concubines. When it comes to a man of my ability and status, it won't be a problem to have a harem of 3,000 beauties. Bastard, do you think my master is any ordinary woman? I don't know your master, but if all she is going for her is her status as the most beautiful woman in the world, then that is not enough for her to be the only woman in my life. Xiao Tiandi immediately released a terrifying killing intent. Do you want to fight? I'm willing to risk it all. Don't embarrass yourself, Wang Wei waved his hand. Anyway, why do you care so much? He asked, giving him an odd look. Don't look at me like this, Xiao Tiandi grunted. I just want to make sure whoever she ends up with can give her the entire world. That's the minimum she requires. Is that so? Wang Wei uttered. I thought you had confused the maternal feelings you had for your master with love because, throughout your life, she was the only good and constant thing you've ever known. Or maybe, after getting your life together, you became bold and wanted to try your hands at a forbidden fruit. Boom. A terrifying palm with the power of destruction hit Wang Wei. However, a small shield appeared and easily blocked it. He blocked it so thoroughly that nothing in the pavilion was even scratched. Oh, calm down, Wang Wei said as he served himself the tea. How can you be so easily riled up as a Dao Lord? Even if your master is your weakness, you should do a better job at hiding it. Wang Wei sipped his tea. Anyway, it's not like the relationship between master and disciple is considered a true taboo. Besides a few strict factions, usually the ones involving religion, no one cares about this kind of relationship. After living for so long, the morality of cultivators can be described as a thin thread. Even relationships between families are more common than in the mortal world. After all, Tier 10 cultivators could live long enough for their family to have bred for millions of generations. After a certain number of generations, some people just don't care. And that's not mentioning the ones who try to keep their bloodline pure through devious techniques and intermarriage. Xiao Tiandi exhaled to calm down. Answer my question, he asked. No, demanded. What's your intention with my master? Wang Wei ignored his rude attitude and said, I have no intention. I must meet her to break the fate nexus, and that's what I will do. That's it. Pretty much. You're not tempted at all? Like I said, if beauty is all she has, that is not enough for me to care, Wang Wei stated. And as you said, I have a wife, and she's the only one for me. Xiao Tiandi looked at him closely. My intuition tells me you're telling the truth, but my mind cannot believe your words. That's because you're biased, Wang Wei replied. You've put her on a pedestal, so you cannot fathom any men rejecting the opportunity to get with her. However, the world is vast, so although I'm in the minority, I'm sure there are many others. That's because you haven't seen her yet, Xiao Tiandi rebutted. He knew his master was the kind of beauty that transcends gender, race, or species. You don't know me, Wang Wei said. I despise fate, so I would never willingly let it decide things for me, except for my wife. She was, and will always be, the only exception. So, it does not matter how wonderful your master is. Just because she was chosen for me made it impossible for us ever to be together. That's an odd way of life, Xiao Tiandi commented. If he accepted it once, why not do it a second time? However, he could understand this kind of determination and spirit of defiance. I believe you, Xiao Tiandi stated before summoning a golden invitation and handing it to Wang Wei. The celebration will take place in the ubiquitous hot spring domain. That's where everyone will gather before our palace descents, and the guests can enter. Wang Wei recollected his knowledge of the area. It's a strange place where hot springs will manifest suddenly, many in different dimensions. The hot springs are relaxing, but more importantly, many have special effects, including helping cultivate the soul and body and granting special abilities/talents. I'll be there in time, Wang Wei nodded as he put the invitation away. By the way, how is your time in the rebellion? It's all right. It gave me a sense of purpose and I couldn't ask for anything more. Your presence didn't affect your master? Not that I can tell, Xiao Tiandi replied. Anyway, it was her who encouraged me to do it, stating she would deal with the trouble that came with it. That's good to hear, Wang Wei nodded. What do you think of them? Them? Xiao Tiandi took a moment to organize his thoughts. Their leader, Empyrean Jimin, is a talented individual. However, he made a grave error when organizing the rebellion. He did not centralize power and recruited too many people, creating a situation where so many factions vie for power. Xiao Tiandi squinted. I reckon it was not a mistake, but he did it purposefully. Oh. After analyzing everything he's done so far, I deduce that his ultimate goal is not the rebellion or the end of this era, but to use the rebellion's name to build his own faction, Xianxia stated. He's that ambitious? More than you think. If my analysis is correct, his disappearance is because he's trying to enter the Paragon realm. If he succeeds, it will be easier for him to control all the resistance, especially since he already has the majority of control, Wang Wei commented. That should have been his long-term goal from the start, Xianxia agreed. Wang Wei tapped on the tea table as he pondered. His mind was on the verge of catching something. In the current situation, where would I hide to break through? He asked himself, and the answer was simple. There were 3 possible situations. The first is the source chi space, but the volatile nature of that setting means it could affect the immeasurable tribulation, thus raising the difficulty exponentially. The second option was the forbidden place of the eternal ascension world, but after the 2 suns took over, these places ceased to exist or disappeared from the face of the earth. That left the last and best solution, the lawless zone. Its power will not affect the breakthrough since the tribulation originated from true heavenly Tao. Additionally, if someone else tries to interfere, their strength would be limited to the Empyrean realm, making it an ideal place in case the parasites tried to interfere. So, Empyrean Jimin is hiding in the lawless zone? But why haven't I found him? Come to think of it, I also haven't found the crazy thief gang lord. Could they be related? Could they be the same person? Wang Wei's body suddenly paused as this thought flashed in his mind. At first, he thought he was reaching, but something told him to take a moment and pursue this line of thought for a moment. When I first met him, I thought his name was associated with nimbleness, which could indicate his Tao was related to assassination, Wang Wei analyzed. And the information I've gathered so far proves that to be the case. No one knew exactly what the leader's Tao was, but everyone knew he was a master assassin who rarely failed. However, it could also apply to a Tao related to thievery. It's also suspicious how they both retreated around the same time, especially when my information indicated that the gang lord's cultivation was near the peak of Tier 11. Wang Wei realized his deduction was a stretch, but his guts told him he was onto something. Empyrean Jimin was either the same person as the crazy thief gang lord, or they were connected somehow. Regardless, he was prepared to investigate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1253 Relife Iron. Wang Wei stopped thinking and sipped his tea. Done. Xianxia asked. Sorry about that. I understand, Xianxia nodded. He knew it was best to let his thoughts flow naturally when he got these sudden inspirations. So, what have you been up to? You know, preparing for the future, Wang Wei replied vaguely. Is the Tao opening sect prepared to give you full support to fulfill your destiny? Why do you want to know? Wang Wei asked him. So, I was right. You're trying to keep them out of it, Xianxia said with a smirk. You know, I preferred you when you were silent and depressed. That's a low blow. I can go lower if you continue to test me, Wang Wei said, looking him calmly in the eyes. Xianxia sighed before standing up. Well, this was fun. Let's do it again another time. His body turned into a field of flowers as he flew into the sky, and his voice echoed, I once walked a lonely path, but now, it is illuminated by a flower that symbolizes beauty and wrath, a flower that I will go to any length to protect its laugh, including living my life in bloodbath. And, I spent so much time trying to write this poem. I should have just used AI. Wang Wei's lips twitched. What is this? Could it be that Sun Junyao is so beautiful that it made this bastard turn into a poet? He shook his head before flying away. He did not leave but looked around this place, thinking of sending his guard to this place to gather information. Wang Wei flew to the place in this territory with the most condensed destiny and also where most of the chaos occurs. Snow Sky City is where most events would happen, so it was the best place to create a branch. He might even extend the missions of his changing fate hall to this location. This city was enormous, as are most things in the upper dimension. However, this was not the most unique part of this place. As soon as Wang Wei arrived, he caught people's attention for one reason. He wore ordinary clothes while almost everyone else had a fur coat on. Snow Sky City was built long ago on top of celestial ice crystal mine, causing the temperature to be extremely low. Celestial ice crystal is a top-tier 11 material, and if enough is concentrated on an area, even an emperia, a conceptual being, can freeze to death. In Snow Sky City, not wearing a specially made coat meant your clothes were top-tier artifacts that could resist the temperature, or you were powerful enough to ignore the cold. Wang Wei blended with a small group and changed his clothes to resemble everyone else. As he walked around the city and observed, he recalled what he knew about it. Snow Sky City used to be the property of the Skill Dao Association. They used the celestial ice crystal to make weapons, talismans, pills, etc. However, this place became the property of Undead Phoenix and Five Feathers, but the dispute might have originated from how to share the resources. Or the dispute might have been over something else, but it resulted in their fight spilling over the mine distribution of celestial ice crystal. So many resources, but most of them are wasted, Wang Wei sighed. The parasites killed most of the professional Dao paragons, meaning that they could not refine resources on that level. Wang Wei guessed that Mithria and Supreme Unity might have allowed them to keep a few, but that is unlikely since the creation of some paragon pill, depending on the type, could cause severe vision and affect the entire world, which is what they wanted to prevent. Additionally, these parasites, maybe except Time Eater, were not brave enough to keep another paragon close to their side. As such, the best they could do was keep a rare insurgent Dao Monarch that could refine paragon grade, or close to that, artifacts, pills, talismans, etc. As Wang Wei was walking around the city, he heard something that caught his interest. "Are you serious?" said a female Dao ruler. "Yes. I just heard the news. The Purple Lotus Actial Hall released the news that the next auction will contain real-life iron," said her companion, an immortal sovereign. "Shoo, don't say so loud," warned the woman. "But they are so bold to announce selling such a thing? It's probably because it's only second tier, but there is a rumor going around that they have third tier real-life iron, but it will only be sold in a secret auction. Rumors are rumors after all." "So, you don't think it's true?" "So what if it is?" the woman asked. "Do you think this is the kind of stuff we can interfere with?" "I know. I'm mentioning it to convince you to attend the auction. There might be some good stuff there." "I smell trouble, so we should stay far away," the woman replied. "You play it too safe," her partner countered. "That's fine and all, but if that is how we were going to operate, what was the point of coming to such a dangerous place? There is a fine line between benefiting from danger and being swallowed by it. I feel this is one of the cases where we might get swallowed, so listen to me and stay away from that auction." All right, I'll listen to you," the man sighed. "Real-life iron?" Wang Wei thought with squinted eyes. This is another rare resource with many uses, the most important being the nemesis of longevity resources. Initially, this thing was used by people without access to a Dao will to kill emperors and above. They would seal the body in prisons built from real-life iron, preventing the emperor from reviving. The prison also made it easier to wash away the dead Bodhis Dao imprint. Later, real-life iron was further developed into the real-life talisman, which can force someone with an extra life to revive directly in front of anyone who killed them. In other words, people would use the talisman to force people with extra lives to revive before them to kill them again, ensuring they are truly dead. The parasites outlawed real-life iron. Although they only reinforce the rules when the third-tier ones are discovered, their subordinate does reinforce the rest of this rule, Wang Wei thought. So, why are those people so blatantly selling it? He was intrigued, so he participated in this banquet. He had to wait 6 months but decided to take a small vacation. Wang Wei bought a VIP lounge for the auction, but he also complained the price was too much. The receptionist explained that the price was due to the nature of what was being sold. However, he still felt it was needlessly pricey. On the day of the auction, he waited and observed. The announcer/hostess was a beautiful woman with a goth vibe. She wore dark purple lipstick, long black nails, and a revealing winter fox coat. Why would a coat be revealing? No one knows, but that's how she was dressed, and the audience seemed to love it. The first item was surprisingly grade 7, meaning it was for people of void-shattering realm. Then, it slowly increased until grade 10, when Wang Wei finally bought something. He fetched 3 of the 5 heaven wills they were selling. He did not fight for the remaining 2 because the people who wanted it seemed desperate, so despite the fact he could outbid them, he let it go, considering granting these 2 some blessing. After his bid, someone brought him his things and he paid. The process was simple and direct. As he held the heaven will, Wang Wei could not help but sigh. These things are fought after in the lower dimension, with everyone lusting and willing to do everything for one of them. However, in the upper dimension, it is a commodity, albeit rare, but still a commodity. Wang Wei did not buy anything more, as even the things in the Tier 11 section did not interest him. Then, it was the last object of the auction. The hostess waited a few seconds for someone to bring it out, but no one cared. Apologies, everyone, it seems there might be some issue. Give me a moment to resolve everything, the hostess announced as she bowed. To compensate for this blandder, everyone here will receive a 5% discount in all future auctions. The crowd erupted in murmur, and the auctioneer walked behind the curtain, returning about 3 minutes later with the item floating behind her. Now, let's move on, she said, removing the red cover, showing black rock with white stripes running in a circular pattern. Countless divine senses checked this thing to ensure it was the real deal, and the auction allowed it since this was an unwritten rule of the auction business. You all know this thing's value, so I won't repeat it, the auctioneer said. For the starting bid. She paused for dramatic purposes and to build suspense. Your life, she said in a severe tone, her eyes full of disdain and killing intent as expected, Wang Wei thought. A barrier suddenly surrounded the auction, and 2 armies wearing phoenix-designed armor rushed into the place and immediately attacked everyone present. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1254 The Mortalhood Trial, and Su Junyao is changed to Sun Junyao to differentiate her last name from Su Shi. The chaos erupted. Lights, weapons, and transformations flashed everywhere in the auction. However, it was evident that the army had the advantage as they captured most of the participants instead of killing them. Meanwhile, Wang Wei was the only one calm and still sitting down. Someone busted into his room and looked around, including past him, but saw nothing. Then, the person left in confusion. As soon as the trouble started, he used his time Dao to enter, or maybe create, a parallel spacetime similar to the mirror dimension so he could see and interact with everyone else, but they couldn't do the same to him. Well, I might as well get something out of this, he thought. Wang Wei did not leave but went directly to the auction's treasury. These people were confident in themselves, probably thinking that no one would be brave enough to steal from them, so their protective measures were mediocre, to say the least. Wang Wei stole everything, including a small amount of real-life iron, probably enough to make 1 or 2 talismans. The problem now is where to find someone to make it for him. He doubted the flame blacksmith could refine talismans since his expertise lay in weapons. As Wang Wei was about to leave this facade, he sensed a powerful person in one of the rooms, which he learned was where the auction's manager lived. So, he decided to take a look. He passed through the door and saw 2 people staring at each other. To be precise, a beautiful woman with a phoenix headdress and red hanfu glared at a man looking at the floor while trying to make himself as small as possible. The mighty person he sensed was the phoenix woman, as her cultivation was the peak of the Empyrean realm, and she was close to opening the gate of power. Well, she asked. I really didn't know it was a fake. You keep saying that, but do you think this is good enough? Lady White Phoenix, even you were almost fooled by this fake. What can someone as lowly as me do in such a situation? White Phoenix looked at this fake 3rd-tier real-life iron on her left hand. It was indeed an excellent fake, and if not for her unique ocular prowess, the heavenly phoenix eye, she would have missed it. Your excuse is good, but it's not enough, White Phoenix declared. This operation was supposed to lure these ridiculous rebels and maybe even some excellent fishes, but you ruin it. According to the plan, they wanted to use the excuse that the price the iron sold was not to their liking, so they would delay this auction by another month, all in the hope of the news traveling far and luring some important individual. Sadly, this plan failed once they realized someone had stolen the real thing, leaving a fake. You should have listened to my advice, postponed the operation, and bought a new iron, the manager complained. He suddenly felt a surge of strength and looked her in the eyes. Do you think it was easy to put this operation together? Lady White Phoenix snapped. She knew how much effort she put into convincing these people to lend her this iron without someone labeling her a traitor. Forget about continuing the operation, and she will be in major trouble after returning home. She might even be executed. The manager's body trembled, and he quickly lowered his head. White Phoenix looked at him fiercely, contemplating whether to kill this imbecile directly. No, the action and this imbecile works for Sister Red Phoenix, so I can also put some of the blame on her and reduce my fault in all of this. White Phoenix's mood suddenly improved, but she showed no emotions. Meanwhile, Wang Wei was surprised by this news. Who could be responsible for this theft? The resistance? No, my guard should have sent notes of such vital information, Wang Wei thought. Is there an excellent thief in this area? Another event related to thievery. He shook his head before focusing on this woman. White Phoenix, one of the primary subordinates under the Five-Feather Phoenix. What should I do with her? Kill her now? Or turn her into a pawn to use later? He considered briefly before deciding to make better use of her. So, he blew an invisible gray mist into her body. White Phoenix suddenly reacted and turned to look in his direction. She frowned as she saw nothing, so her eyes turned into phoenixes before she looked at every corner of the room. Am I too sensitive? She pondered. She checked a second time with the same result. It seems I am. She turned around and started using her divine sense to check the situation. Another talent wasted, Wang Wei thought as he looked at her with pity. The fact that White Phoenix detected his actions proved she was talented, especially in the detection category. Sadly, she can never fulfill her potential because of who she serves. There is also the fact he might have to kill such a talent. Wang Wei left the room, but he did not leave the auction. Of course, he had his reason. He feared breaking through their formation might warn White Phoenix of someone capable of breaking their array. And if someone can do that, that person can also spy on her. Wang Wei did not want to alert her in any way possible, so he waited until the operation ended and the auction lifted their formation before he left. He returned to the Dao burial ground and immediately started researching any connection between Empyrean Jimin and the crazy thief gang lord. He also asked Red Mask Fate to send the next batch of trained guards to the Red Plateau land, even tasking her to look for a talented individual with the Dao of theft. Heavenly Beauty Palace. Sun Junyao, with a veil covering most of her face, sat on a cushion with a large scroll in her hand. The scroll's content kept changing as she read, and she mulled over every word. Once in a while, after reading the content, Sun Junyao would wave in the air to send information talismans to different places throughout the palace. She had one of the best intelligence agencies in the world, and she built it simply because of her beauty. Many men and women in the world are willing to tell her any secrets just for the chance to get close to her. And this closeness doesn't have to be something excessive. Most of them are happy as long as she writes a letter to them, or some tell her their deepest secrets as long as she acknowledges their presence. Everything is prepared perfectly, Sun Junyao pondered, and with a thought, the scroll disappeared. At the same time, a spatial wave spread into the room, and Xiao Tiandi appeared in the room. You're back, Sun Junyao said. How did it go? It was fine. So, who was this friend you went to see? It was the asshole from the lower dimension I talked about. Oh, what did you talk about? He wanted an invitation to your celebration? So, your friend is also intrigued by my beauty? Sun Junyao asked with a playful voice. Something like that. Is something wrong? Sun Junyao asked. Master, is there a way for me to become an Empyrean in like a few yuan epochs? What's gotten into him? Sun Junyao thought. How few are we talking about? Let's say, less than 1,000, no, less than 500 yuan epochs. Are you crazy? I'm serious. Xiao Tiandi has been thinking about this on his way here, and he could not think of a solution other than gathering merit. He could try to awaken his physique a third time, which would boost his cultivation speed, but the chances of succeeding were astronomical low. From the records, only one person in the Eternal Ascension world achieved a third physique awakening while an emperor, but the record stated clearly this person was extremely lucky to have survived. Sun Junyao looked at him intently. What did your friends say to make you act like this? That's not important right now, Xiao Tiandi replied. So, do you know of a way? I can only think of the Mortalhood trial, but that might as well be a myth, Sun Junyao replied. What is it? It's a trial for immortals in which they sacrifice their eternal life for an exponential boost in cultivation speed. The participant will have a limited lifespan based on their cultivation realm, and if they cannot get through to the next stage before time runs out, they die permanently. Just like true power realm body refiners, Xiao Tiandi thought. And it's true death? That's correct, Sun Junyao said. Being an eternal or other cannot save someone who enters that trial. How do I get into that trial? As I said, it might as well be a myth, Sun Junyao replied. The trial is not something that originated from our world, but from primordial chaos. No one knows, or I should say, I don't know the criteria for it to appear in any world. The last time it appeared in our world was before the Golden Era. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1255 The Frontiers Situation. Xiao Tiandi frowned, thinking about this trial. Don't worry too much about it, Sun Junyao said. You're a person with a great destiny. Who knows? It might appear now that you have such an intense desire for it. She did not want her disciple to revert to his former self because of this small inconvenience, so Sun Junyao chose to give false hope. Technically speaking, it was not false hope since she did not know the exact requirements for the trial. For all she knew, it appeared when someone of great destiny required it or during a time of chaos and strife, just like the current era. Destiny? Xiao Tiandi muttered as an idea flashed in his mind. Could we summon it? That's an idea, but how would we go about that? You remember your history lesson of the Second Origin War? Xiao Tiandi stated. You said that Paragon Chiyuan started a war to gather a tremendous amount of luck and destiny to summon the ultimate taboo. Couldn't we use his method to summon this trial? That might work, Sun Junyao nodded. However, the destiny. I know mine alone is not enough, but we can contact Empyrean Kong and many other talented individuals, Xiao Tiandi persuaded. I'm sure many of the people in the same generation as. Well, my point is that many people would not pass off such an opportunity in this current climate. Sun Junyao noticed how odd he behaved regarding this so-called friend, but she did not pry. They were very close. If her disciple did not tell him, he must have his reasons. That's one part of the problem, Sun Junyao sighed. How would we get such an important thing from the Dao opening sect? I can ask them, but I doubt they will give me face regarding this matter. We don't need the complete method. No, we don't even need to be the ones to summon the trial, Xiao Tiandi persuaded. I'm sure the Dao opening sect would benefit from such an event. In other words, we only need to persuade them. Xiao Tiandi was confident in this plan because the Dao opening sect had a high chance of agreeing because of Wang Wei. Although he would prefer for that bastard not to enjoy such benefit, he knew it was impossible not to include. Regardless, the trial should somewhat reduce the gap between them, especially since he can achieve a third awakening after becoming an Empyrean. It seems you've thought of everything, Sun Junyao said with a smile. Luckily, she hid her face, or the entire room would be illuminated. However, despite this protection, Xiao Tiandi already thought of 100 poems describing the fleeting smile. Excellent. I'll contact them immediately, Sun Junyao said. Such a trial could also benefit her. No, inviting them to my celebration and asking in person would be better. If so, I can't send just anyone to give the invitation. I'll go. Yes, you're my direct disciple, and what better person to represent me? Sun Junyao nodded. Go right now. No, change into something more presentable. You should also bring gifts. No problem, Xianxia stated. By the way, is the trial also useful for paragons? No. You must leave after becoming a paragon. That's good to hear, Xianxia sighed. If those people could also use the trial, the current situation would worsen to a terrifying level. He walked out of the room, heading to his quarters to change. Wait, Sun Junyao yelled. What about the thing I asked you to fetch? Oh, I almost forgot, Xianxia replied. He did not turn around but threw a space ring over his head, which landed perfectly on Sun Junyao's hands. Rude, she complained. Nothing went wrong? Nope, everything was fine. Eternal Ascension World, Primordial Chaos. A blood-red dragon fought a cultivator with a flying sword. The dragon had countless blood marks on its body. His scales were destroyed or slashed in different parts of his body. From their auras, the swordsman was obviously more powerful than the dragon. However, the supposed divine creature had its power boosted by a potent array. The swordsman tried to remove the array, which was the source of his opponent's strength. However, he had to give up this foolish thought as he realized he would have to destroy the Eternal Ascension World to remove the array. Sadly, he did not have such power, so he could grit his teeth and curse whoever created such a brilliant formation. The swordsman suddenly sensed people rushing toward him. He knew this raid had failed, and if he stayed here, he would probably be exiled to some dangerous area of the Source Chi space or lost in time through the River of Time. He took one last look at the dragon before flying away. This was far from over. The Chaos Universe was about to experience another turmoil similar to the Second War Origin, and the Eternal Ascension World might be the key to knowing what will happen. Better yet, they might be the key to ensuring maximum benefit. The top powers have yet to show up, only observing in the shadows and using people like this swordsman as pawns. However, sooner or later, they will be tired of observing and taking action. The dragon waited until he could not sense anything before turning into a tall, muscular man about 2.8 meters in height, with 2 red dragon horns and a loose robe showing his upper body. When will this end? Blood Dragon complained. As he was about to turn around, he suddenly felt a terrifying pain in his chest. Why now of all time? He thought. However, despite the intense pain, his complexion did not change. Blood Dragon, what are you doing? Are you injured? Asked a beautiful voice. I'm fine. Is that so? Well, we're having a meeting. It'll be right there, Blood Dragon. He secretly teleported a few pills from his pocket dimension directly into his stomach, and a few seconds later, he could move. He flew into a pavilion floating right outside the Eternal Ascension World, which resembled a colossal egg from the point of view of primordial chaos. Everyone was at the meeting, sitting on thrones around a circular table. Well, everyone except for the Disaster Paragon and the Twin Flower Monk. This can't go on like this, Time Eater immediately stated after everyone arrived and took a seat at their position. Someone must be chosen to return home and cultivate a few paragons to aid us. We've had this conversation countless times, so why waste time? Five Feather asked. Everyone wants to be the one to return, so how do we decide? I'm putting my foot down this time, Time Eater announced. I'll be the one to return, and I won't take no for an answer. He released his aura, suppressing all the others in the room. Watch your tongue, warned Seven Cauldron. If anyone here should return, it's rightfully me. Unfortunately for you, I no longer care about your special identity, Time Eater replied, even releasing a slight killing intent. You. Do it, and it'll burn everything down, Undead Phoenix said. It'll either open the formation and allow these people entry or run away and sell all your information. You wouldn't dare, Time Eater growled. Try me, Undead Phoenix replied before looking at Five Feather. I might even find someone willing to kill this bitch for me. Bold words, Five Feather replied, releasing her own killing intent. Can we even return? The Earth Emperor asked calmly. Their orders were to protect the world at all costs. Would they consider our return an act of treason? The room was momentarily quiet until Time Eater spoke. We're only doing so to better accomplish our given task. Will they care? The Earth Emperor rebutted. His words again plunged the room into silence. Let's not talk about such pointless speculation, Earth Emperor continued. How about we summon people here instead of fetching them? They can become a paragon here, and the problem will be solved. As long as we each get to pick someone, I'm fine with this idea. 5 feather added, and soon everyone agreed. You make it sound simple, but have you considered the implications? Time Eater sneered at these idiots. We can hide these people for the most part, but what about when they have to undergo the immemorial tribulation? He pointed outside. Do you think these people are stupid? They won't guess what we're trying to do and stop us. You're right, but this is the best compromise we can come up with, the Earth Emperor replied. We can deal with these people's reactions when the time comes. At worst, we will send our people to the Source Chi space to pass the tribulation. Time Eater looked at the Earth Emperor in the eyes, and the latter did not lunch. Xuan did not know why Time Eater desperately wanted to return home but knew he needed to stop it at all costs. Fine. Let's discuss how many people to summon and how to choose. This discussion did not last long as everybody agreed on one person, and it had to be someone they trusted or could easily control. Once the decision was made, everyone scattered to their rooms for the summon. Meanwhile, the quiet blood dragon had a glint in his eyes as he calmly returned to his quarters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1256 Special Guest Blood Dragon walked inside his quarter, and another dragon waited for him. The dragon was much older and looked human, with 2 black dragon horns. However, he also dressed more formally. Lord Aoing, what is the result? Blood Dragon asked as he sat around a small table with a gourd. He opened it and chugged the entire content. According to my investigation, you're the only one Lady Sun Junyao invited to her celebration, Aoing reported. And you're sure? I've done my best, and as far as our intelligence goes, none of the other factions seems to have a personal invitation from her. Good, 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 Blood Dragon repeated 3 times, his voice echoing in the room. Luckily, there was a sound-insulating array. I haven't heard such good news in a while. Lord, how will you attend the celebration without being noticed? Blood Dragon looked at him. I guess you should be a part of this plan in case something goes wrong. Come with me. He waved his hand to summon a portal before walking in. On the opposite side was a blood pool with a blood cocoon at the center. This clone, which has inherited more than 99% of my strength, will take my place in this hellhole. Sir, did you use your blood clone ability? But you know doing so will aggravate. It's fine, Blood Dragon stopped him, and Aoing sighed. Well, that's one part of the problem, the elderly dragon continued. What about the other part? How are you going to return home without them noticing? I'll be using this, Blood Dragon replied before showing him a yellow paper with a character drawn at the center. Interestingly, the character is a dragon, and it seems to be alive upon closer observation. The ancestral dragon talisman, Aoing said in shock. That's right, Blood Dragon replied with a smile. Ancestral Dragon is a title granted to primal paragon dragons, and this particular talisman was one of the dragon race's treasures from even before the Golden Era. But, Aoing was speechless. This talisman is a treasure considered as a foundation for the dragon race. It is one of the few treasures that Blood Dragon took after his rebellion, while the others were hidden from him. But even after taking this talisman, he could not use it normally and had to sacrifice trillions of lives for an opportunity to activate it once. Lord, this talisman was your way out once this era ends, Aoing swiftly said. Why are you wasting it? What do you mean by waste? Blood Dragon asked, his bright smile replaced by slight gloom. Don't you understand what it means for her only to invite me? It means that out of that gloomy bastard undead, the boring and prideful Shu Ren, and the scheming Time Eater, she chose the fearless and valiant me. How can a mere talisman be compared to her? In fact, I might tell just to show her how much I appreciate her. Aoing wanted to tell him that no woman, no matter how beautiful, was worth the value of that talisman. However, he's been with the young master since he was a baby and knows his temper. He would only get a scolding and might even lose some trust in the process. I knew I should have assassinated her when he first showed interest, Aoing thought. Sadly, it was now too late. Ao Ing sighed in his resignation. He suddenly felt he had aged mentally by an exponential amount. "Do as you wish," he said. "But young master, don't forget you promised me you would not die before me." After saying these words, Ao Ing walked out of this dimension, his shoulders lowered than they had ever been. Blood Dragon shook his head. Ao Ing was a trusted subordinate who had been with him since birth. However, he had a significant flaw. He was too reserved. Cautions took precedence over everything he did, usually to the detriment of whatever Blood Dragon wished to accomplish. Blood Dragon looked at the cocoon and the talisman, and he smiled. He returned to his quarters in the best mood since a few thousand yuan epochs. Dao Burial Ground. Wang Wei looked over a lot of documents and information, trying to connect Empyrean Jimin with the crazy thief gang lord. However, the result was abysmal. By all accounts, they were two people with different stories, lives, interests, hobbies, and personalities. As far as he could tell, they've never interacted, and there is no connection between them. Ultimately, Wang Wei had to admit this might have been a wild goose chase and gave up. Luckily for him, Wang Qi brought him some good news that diverted his mind from this small failure. The rebellion accepted his proposition and handed over Zhen Baiyu's contract. However, they also asked that Wang Wei share the information gathered from her, and he agreed. Of course, he did not try these people and could choose what information to give them. Red Mask Fate then brought him even more good news. They've identified two other individuals besides Fierce Tear, who knew of Zhen Baiyu's situation, one of whom was Old Ma. She wanted to know what to do with them or the others, if there were any. Wang Wei told her to kill everyone else except for Old Ma. He still wanted to preserve his relationship with Empyrean Jimin if possible. After dealing with these affairs, Wang Wei entered seclusion. He had some time before the celebration and decided to improve himself. However, the time until the celebration was short, so he needed to choose what to focus on. My main priority should be to condense a true 11th Revolution bloodline by turning its capabilities from active to passive, and it should help to lay the foundation for entering the taboo realm. Then, if I have time, I can improve all my techniques so that I don't suffer with much older opponents, and if I have time, Wang Wei thought. After outlining a basic plan, he immediately started. Wang Wei fired out his time acceleration array, which was created with his Time Dao and Flame Blacksmith's shallow knowledge about array, to the limit before using Monk's Supreme Chaos Treasure, the battle arena, to help him improve on his version of the Fiend God Body 12 Revolutions. The creation or improvement of this technique was the easy part. What came next was the true challenge, the Bloodline Tribulation. Wang Wei's limit indestructibility should have made this process a piece of cake, but Heavenly Dao had something else planned. His tribulation was essentially a slightly weaker version of the Paragon Tribulation, meaning Wang Wei came close to death. It did not help that Heavenly Dao, no, Grand Dao, prevented him from using his 10-fold battle realm for the tribulation, meaning Wang Wei had to rely on his 78% cultivation and his flesh on the third heaven of the adult fiend god realm. Phew, that was something Wang Wei exhaled. Let's test this out. He summoned the physical manifestation of nothingness, which materialized as a large empty scroll floating above his head. It's working, Wang Wei thought. He could feel his body passively absorbing this power, and if he closed his eyes, he could confront nothingness itself to temper his willpower. He closed his eyes to check on his nothingness wheel. The thing had grown from the size of an egg to the size of a tennis ball. However, despite this tiny improvement, Wang Wei smiled. He could tell the wheel was passively absorbing power from his bloodline, which was enough to put a smile on his face. The day when this thing is big enough, he will break his limits and achieve battle strength on par with the top of this world. Hopefully, this day will not be far away. Wang Wei focused on the other changes of his breakthrough. I'm still in the third heaven, but I've entered the initial stage of body-will fusion. Body-will fusion had 4 stages: initial, middle, advanced, and perfection. Wang Wei had just started. Meanwhile, Monk was almost finished. The last part is the Wang clan bloodline, Wang Wei thought. The next step should be to allow his clan members to benefit from the fruit of his labors. However, he decided against it. Any sudden change in the bloodline is easy to notice in the current situation, Wang Wei analyzed. Plus, it may be better to wait until someone finishes the 10th revolution and becomes an indestructible Empyrean before getting access to the benefits of the 11th revolution. I should encourage them to make their version of the 11th revolution. Wang Wei left the source chi space to return to the Dao burial ground to continue his retreat. Monk's artifact worked better than anticipated, so he had plenty of time to improve his techniques. Time passed, and it was finally time for Sun Junyo's celebration. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1257 Odd meeting. Wang Wei walked out of the cultivation room, and Wang Qi came to see him. However, Wang Wei could tell this was just a clone, and he knew the fact that the real one had entered seclusion. Why do you seem stressed out? Wang Wei asked. I haven't figured out what gift to bring to the celebration, Wang Qi said. That's what's gotten so you riled up? You should take this seriously. On such a grand occasion, we must bring the appropriate gift, or we will lose a lot of face. It's not like I'm going as my real identity, so it doesn't matter as much as you think. But, aren't you going to meet Lady Sun Junyao in person? Since it's your first meeting, you should bring a worthy gift. It's fine since I already prepared the perfect gift. Please don't say something as stupid that your presence is the best gift, Wang Qi warned, making Wang Wei speechless. I was going to say that as a joke, but now, you've ruined it. Patriarch, this is a serious matter. I know, Wang Wei waved his hand. So, what gift did you prepare? You're persistent, aren't you? It's one of my best qualities. Wang Wei sighed and told him the gift he had prepared. He even summoned it to show him. It's indeed perfect for her, Wang Qi said, and Wang Wei rolled his eyes. However, wouldn't it be better to refine it into something else? Maybe a hairpin, bracelet, or a mirror? Oh, I forgot she hates mirrors. She does. It's a known fact, Wang Qi explained before handing Wang Wei all the information he had gathered about Sun Junyao, and it indeed stated that she would return any mirror she received as gifts and even publicly admitting to not liking them. The most beautiful woman in the world doesn't like to look in the mirror? Wang Wei muttered. I had the same reaction after finding out, Wang Qi added. Do you think she doesn't like what she sees? Or she's afraid of falling in love with herself? Wang Wei joked as he thought about the Greek myth about the man named Narcissus. Is that possible? Stranger things have happened. True, Wang Qi nodded before changing the topic. Did you prepare a gift for the first meeting with the madam? That's not necessary. But, I don't want to complicate our first meeting, Wang Wei stopped him. So, there is no need for any gifts or grand gestures. We only need to talk. Maybe you have a point. Wang Qi did not bring up this topic again. Did anything special happen during my absence? No, everything was calm. Everyone seems to be waiting for the celebration. Including them? Yes, including them. I expect the men's faction to behave in such a way, but I thought someone like Five Feather would be jealous of Sun Junyo's beauty and make trouble, Wang Wei commented. That might still happen at the celebration, Wang Qi added. However, knowing that her actions might turn everyone against her, she might restrain herself. I hope she doesn't, as that would make things more interesting, Wang Wei sneered. Where is Red Mask? I'm here. She appeared in the room, kneeling on one knee. Anything to report? I've assassinated Fierce Tiger and anyone who knew about Zhenbiu except the one called Old Ma, she reported. Good work, Wang Wei praised. He did not ask how she did it as long as she did. What is the reaction? I've made it look like a retaliation for one of their previous missions against the Great Chu dynasty, Red Mask responded. And since then, they've become more cautious. Did they enact a new leader? No, they are still fighting to decide. I guess I shouldn't have expected anything else. Wang Wei shook his head in disappointment. His current plan for the rebellion is to replace their members with his Fate Shadow Guard and take control from the inside. Then, when Empyrean Jimin returns, he will decide their ultimate fate based on how he returns. If he succeeds in becoming a paragon, Wang Wei will remove most of his people, leaving the minimum number to gather information. Then, he will continue a cooperative relationship with them. If he returns as an Empyrean, then Wang Wei will take over their operation and force Empyrean Jimin to serve under him. The best course would probably be for him to die, but Wang Wei also felt it was a waste for such a talent to die so suddenly. Wang Wei checked on his team and the changing fate hall. He became a handsome young man wearing a black inner shirt, a floating white robe, and a handheld fan that added a scholarly aura to his demeanor. Anyone who saw him would think he was the kind of person who could recite poems on the spot. Given how Xiao Tiandi turned out, she should find this appearance approachable, Wang Wei thought. He then finally teleported to the ubiquitous hot spring world. As soon as he arrived at his designation, he noticed two things. Firstly, there were so many people. This place used to be a popular entertainment spot, so it was normal for it to be lively. However, it was on a different scale now that so many people worldwide arrived for the celebration. The second thing he noticed was the abnormal amount of destiny condensed in this place. His eyes could see an invisible dragon swimming above the sky on a golden lake. Something is definitely going to happen in this celebration, Wang Wei analyzed. And it will be major. He tried divining the truth but only discovered something easy to guess. Sun Junyao would be at the center of everything. Since faith fails, let's try to look into the future, Wang Wei thought. His eyes then reflected the river of time as he tried to peep at the mystery of tomorrow. It's useless even if you use time Dao, said a soft-spoken voice. The celebration is a critical node in history, a time nexus, if you will, so the future is not set, well, at least for us who have not escaped the shackles of time. This voice was correct. In Wang Wei's eyes, the future was an entangled ball of threads, each representing a different possibility. There were so many of them that even his mind could only peep at a fraction. On top of everything, the lines he could see were blurred. He turned around to see who had spoken. It was an elderly man with white hair and a white goatee dressed in a plain black robe. However, the man had a charm of mystery about him, which was accentuated by the fact that he was blind with gray eyes. "And who are you?" "People called me Old Man Tianji. It's a pleasure to meet you, the destined one." Of course they do, Wang Wei thought to himself, rolling his eyes. His meeting with the lower dimension Old Man Tianji was also this random. "It seems you came here purposely to meet me, but can I ask how you found me?" Wang Wei was curious as even the parasites, who were paragons and had plenty of manpower, failed to find him, but this old man did. "I've observed everyone who comes and leaves this place," Old Man Tianji said. "I can say with confidence, whoever it is, I can see some information about their fate, no matter how little. However, you are the only exception, so I deduce who you were." "What if I was only a man really good at anti-divination?" "I thought of this possibility," Old Man Tianji replied. "That's why I called your status as a test, and based on your reaction I figured I hit the jackpot." "I have to say, well played, old man," Wang Wei admitted. "Thank you. I have a feeling that coming from you, those words mean a great deal." "They do," Wang Wei acknowledged. "So, why did you want to contact me?" "For now, I only wanted to ensure you were present at the celebration." "And why is that?" "I can't say anything more, but you only need to know your presence, know your destiny, is essential to whatever is going to happen, Old Man Tianji." Wang Wei sighed. "I don't appreciate how you know something but keep talking in riddles." "I am not blessed like you," Old Man Tianji responded, his tone not hiding his envy. "Even at my current cultivation level, there are plenty of secrets of fate that I cannot reveal, or I will suffer tremendous backlash." He was very talented and achieved the realm of everlasting, but even then he was permanently blind because of peeping too much into fate when he was immortal. "Then, don't say anything, I'll just look it up myself," Wang Wei said as he directly looked at Old Man Tianji's fate line. "It's useless," the old man said calmly. What's this?" Wang Wei immediately saw something interesting. "You have more than one fate line?" "No, that's not it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1258 Unexpected First Meeting. Your fate line is intertwined with so many others, Wang Wei commented. Old man Tianji's fate line was similar to the future he had just seen. It was fascinating. Is this a method to protect yourself from divination backlash? I have to say, it's quite an ingenious one. I can probably learn a thing or two from it, Wang Wei continued. But who are those other fate lines? Are they from different people with the name Old Man Tianji? He frowned as he observed clearly. No, these are people you've helped, and in return, you borrow their fate to hide yours. More importantly, you can borrow the luck of these people to help your cultivation. Your school has an interesting way of cultivating fate or destiny, Wang Wei said. However, if you have such a protective method, why did you go blind? What did you see that permanently closed your eyes? That is not something for you to know, Old Man Tianji replied calmly, making Wang Wei shake his head. It would be a pain to get any information from this man as he tried to decipher all these fate lines, and he knew this man would not just stand there and let him. Wang Wei sighed. This is my second time meeting one of you people. Can you at least tell me a bit about your sect? Well, the thing is, if you say any nonsense riddle and do not answer my question, I'll directly ignore the rules and attack you. Old Man Tianji almost choked on his words. He looked at this handsome man before him, and he could tell he would really attack him if he did not say a word. He sighed, thinking answering a few questions should be fine. We are called the Stargazing Pavilion. We pursue the mysteries of fate and the secrets of heaven and earth. You guys are not native to this world, are you? No, Old Man Tianji replied truthfully. We've spread to many chaos worlds. So, you're a large faction? We don't have any direct connection, but I'm sure we've interacted somehow, Old Man Tianji replied. However, such knowledge is above my level. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered. Yes and no. Old Man Tianji's body trembled when he saw the killing intent in Wang Wei's eyes, so he swiftly answered. We have many outer members, but only the one who meets the requirements can inherit the name Old Man Tianji and officially become an inner member. This system reminded me of the Desire Heart Palace. Are they connected somehow? Wang Wei asked this question. We don't have any direct connection, but I'm sure we've interacted somehow, Old Man Tianji replied. However, such knowledge is above my level. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered. For such a large faction, why have I only met two of you? Our requirements are strict, and in this era, only I was born in the Eternal Ascension world. Well, if you don't count the little junior in the lower dimension, Old Man Tianji replied. However, there is a high chance you've met our outer members. Wang Wei suddenly felt a little paranoid. Could it be that most divination/secret base factions he's met or learned about are related to the Stargazing Pavilion in some way or form? He quickly removed that thought from his mind. That would be terrible. So, why the name? He asked. This question was the one he most wanted to know. Old Man Tianji hesitated momentarily before replying. It was how our founder wanted things to be. You understand that this is fishy, right? Wang Wei asked. Names have power, and for so many influential people to share the same one. He shook his head. Just like your practice involves borrowing the fate of others, it's apparent that your founder is using all of you by lending you his name. I'm sure you figured as much. Old Man Tianji was momentarily quiet. We all have our destiny. Have you accepted your fate? Wang Wei nodded. Well, at least I know how you lost your sight. Your founder must be something else for your vision loss to remain permanent even after becoming an Empyrean. I reckon nothing will change even if you become a paragon. This meeting has officially gone for too long, Old Man Tianji declared as he looked directly at Wang Wei with his somewhat intimidating eyes. Meeting you might be a positive twist in my destiny or my greatest misfortune. The old man then disappeared. Already gone? It seems I hit a nerve, Wang Wei. It's a shame. I wanted to ask him if his sect was connected to the all-seeing temple in any way. He shook his head before his mind focused on something more substantial. The founder of the Stargazing Pavilion is definitely a half-step transcendent, and he's likely the kind that achieved it before the ultimate taboo. If he had participated in that event, he might have found a way to walk further down the transcendent path. Wang Wei looked at the sky. Foreigners are invading this place. But is it merely because the eternal ascension world is weakened, and they want revenge? That is possible, especially if someone detected the Maitreya and Supreme Unity battle. However, from the information I know, these parasites left for the frontier before Maitreya decided to initiate the fight, meaning these people became interested in the eternal ascension world before learning of the internal conflict between our transcendents. Something must have riled them up. Wang Wei did not have to think long to make the connection. The eternal ascension world is the same as the myriad emperor world, but on a much larger scale. As the destiny center, or very close to it, of the entire chaos universe, it is the place to most likely start a significant event that affects everyone. From Wu Hong's note and the information the sect provided, they mentioned the all-seeing temple and how these people, despite their greedy practices, usually predict major events affecting the chaos universe, including Qiyuan's Second Origin War. Could they have predicted the Third Origin War? Could they have foreseen the havoc I will bring to the chaos universe? Wang Wei was not being narcissistic or self-absorbed with that last statement. Many signs have shown that he's done or is doing something that affects the entire world. Many of the events in his life have proven that his future self is in a war with Grand Dao. However, the most apparent confirmation of his suspicions was the hooded figure that killed him during Gu Xian's trial. It's evident that someone sent him from the future to prevent him from growing up and wreaking havoc on the universe. Wang Wei sighed. If whatever is happening in the frontier is the prelude to the upcoming chaos, then my meeting with this old man Tianji was not accidental, he thought. He's either a pawn sent by his sect's founder to contact the young version of my future self and plan something. Or, my future self sent him on my path to prepare to contact or deal with the stargazing pavilion. Wang Wei grunted softly as he flew away in a bad mood. Given how little control he had over the entire situation, he hated all these time shenanigans. He also needed to warn himself not to let the motion of his future achievement dull him into thinking he was invincible and destined to survive any trouble or difficult situation. With all these transcendent players involved in this ultimate game of chess, rewriting the past becomes a common thing. No, a necessity. Let's enjoy the hot springs as a way to de-stress, Wang Wei thought. The ubiquitous hot spring world was divided into 6 areas related to the elements: flame, water, gold, wood, earth, and the central area. Each location had a large hot spring containing the power of the 5 elements, and after bathing in all 5, people would head into the center for a combination. Each area provided immense benefit to all cultivators under Tier 10, and after completing the 5 sets at the center, even great emperors will receive a cultivation acceleration blessing. However, this thing's effect on Empyreans and above was minimal. There are hidden dimensions with hot springs that are even beneficial to paragons, but those are rare. This place is full of destiny, so it should be relatively easier to find one that benefits my cultivation, Wang Wei thought as he searched the surroundings. In the process, he encountered 2 acquaintances, Su Shi and Lin Fan. They had just found a hidden dimension and were about to enter. Wang Wei did not want to meet them now, so he sent a greeting and set a meeting for a later date before the celebration. He continued his search, and his Qi Luck Dragon trembled in one of the dimensions. Wang Wei did not hesitate and entered. A strong mist covered the spring, but Wang Wei did not care about that. He placed his hand on the water, nourishing the body and accelerating the body-will fusion. Excellent. His clothes disappeared, and he entered, exhaling deeply as the sensation was pleasurable. You seem distraught instead of being excited. Who? Wang Wei yelled as he stood up for any trouble. He was shocked that he never noticed someone so close to him. The mist dispersed, revealing a beautiful woman with gray hair on the opposite side. Hong'e. Wang Wei said instinctively. This is our first meeting, so don't you think calling me so intimately inappropriate? Wu Hong calmly stated. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:59 First conversation. Wang Wei looked at her, The woman he had spent the past few billion years and more thinking about it. The one that forced him to dream just so he could remember her touch. She was as beautiful as he remembered, maybe even more so since this one differed from the one he married. This Wu Hong was colder and lonelier, and she did not hide her power or commanding presence. It was apparent to him that this one had a wall surrounding her regarding their relationship. However, a smile crept in the corner of his mouth after seeing her hair color. "Sorry about that, it was just instinct," Wang Wei finally said before sitting down again in the water. "I understand your situation is weird, but be mindful that I am not her," Wu Hong calmly stated. "So, she did leave you her memory?" "She did, but I sealed most of them," Wu Hong nodded. "Why?" "She's biased, and I don't know how she came to be." Wang Wei nodded. When it came to the time shenanigans that his future self was involved in, his response was usually to begrudgingly go along with it, putting some level of trust in himself and his future. However, it seems that Wu Hong's approach is to be on guard and show no trust whatsoever, which is a fair response. The dimensions suddenly became awkwardly quiet, with the sound of water the only thing echoing in the surroundings. "Why are you suddenly so quiet?" "From the memories I kept, you're a very chatty person, especially when you're around her," Wu Hong said. Wang Wei sighed. "You must give me some grace, as the situation is quite disheartening. I've lived 2 lives, and it seems my love life might be ill-fated." "How so?" "In my first life, my family constantly pressured me to start a family. They even wanted to force me into a political marriage. I died young and without anyone to call a partner. Then, in my second life, I finally found a woman that made my heart beat, a woman I want to spend eternity with, but what happened? Well, it turned out she's a clone of a powerful cultivator, and not only is she a clone, but the clone of the future self of that cultivator, a clone that she has no memories or knowledge of making. So, the situation turns into the fact that I may lose the love of my life if I don't play my cards correctly. If it isn't ill-fated, I don't know what it is." Stating it out loud does put everything into a strange perspective, Wu Hong nodded. She knew the situation was messed up, but it truly dawned on her until he explained it in these words. "I want to ask you something," Wang Wei continued. "Do I have a chance?" Wu Hong played with her hair. "I think I've already given you the answer to this question. But it's different if I hear it directly from you. You should understand that most women do not communicate directly." "But you're not any woman, are you?" Wang Wei rebutted. "Fair point," Wu Hong nodded. "The answer is yes, but I want you to understand something clearly. Fate has no bearing on whether we end up together. No one is entitled to me, not even Grand Dao." "That's understandable. I promise to leave you alone if you ask me to." "Giving up so easily?" she smirked. Wang Wei's heart skipped a beat. She was indeed different, but once in a while he could detect a sliver of his Wu Hong. "I believe that's called respective boundaries," he replied with a more confident smile. Wu Hong calmly raised her right leg to wash it. "I have lived a long life, well, at least compared to you. In my long cultivation journey, things have become dull, a fog of continuous gray. But I must admit that the memories of my supposedly other self brought some shade of colors to my life." She looked him in the eyes. "Can you be the one to accompany me throughout this journey, or will my life continue as it were before?" "I'm fine with either outcome." Wang Wei nodded as he now understood her mindset. The cultivation path is long and arduous, so people have Dao companions to accompany them. However, someone like Wu Hong, who has already traveled so far, is alright with finding someone to accompany her from now on or continue doing what she's been doing. However, that someone cannot be just anyone else. "In that case, let's start from the basics," Wang Wei said, deciding to take a regular approach to a truly complex situation. "Hi, my name is Wang Wei. It's nice to meet you." Wu Hong looked at him strangely before a soft smile appeared in the corner of her mouth. "Wu Hong, and the pleasure is also mine." "Favorite color?" "Red and white." Wang Wei nodded. His Wu Hong's favorite colors were black and red, but it's normal for people's colors to change over time, especially with cultivators' long lifespans. "Mine is purple and gray," he added. "I'm 1.95 meters tall." The same. My favorite tea is Longjue tea. Yours? Snow Trail tea. This answer was also different as this tea was her third favorite, Wang Wei thought. Favorite food? That would be dragon heart, phoenix liver, with a side of dream rice, Wu Hong answered. And it cannot just be any dragons. It's the water dragon from the dragon blessing world. The phoenix also has to be prepared with 5 elements materials. Otherwise, its flame Dao will reduce the taste by a lot. A food connoisseur, heh? Wang Wei stated. His Wu Hong was into food, but she never showed him it was to this extent. However, she always said he had never tasted genuinely delicious food. What made the dragon from that world so delicious? They are the protagonist of their world, so that blessing adds to their taste, Wu Hong explained. Additionally, the water dragons in that world receive a lot of worship due to their control of rivers, oceans, and rains. The incense further elevated the taste. And as you know, water is the soft element, which makes the dragon's meat incredibly tender, Wu Hong explained. One time, I hunted 3 simultaneously and transferred all the taste into a single dish. It was truly sublime. Oh, how I wish I could taste it again. You can look forward to it once you return to your full strength. Wu Hong sighed. It's not that simple. I'm pretty sure one of those damn dragons acquired a transcendent method. Given how much I hunted them down back then, I must be on some kind of list in that world. That's a shame, but one day, we'll also reach that level and we can hunt those dragons together, Wang Wei said, and Wu Hong noticed the "we" he secretly put in that sentence but did not mention it. What about the phoenix liver and dream rice? The liver corresponds to wood in the 5 elements, so after cooking, it basically turns into a vegetable dish, Wu Hong explained. As for the dream rice, that's something I got from another paragon who also loves food. He made everyone in his grand mist will dream about good food and turn that energy into nourishment to cultivate a rice field. I added my specialty to the 6 emotions 7 desire spices, and it elevates the rice to another level. Wouldn't the negative emotions ruin the taste? I can separate them, but even with them, it doesn't, Wu Hong explained. Using them gives the sensation when you're eating something so good, but you know it's terrible for your body. That sounds heavenly. Wang Wei almost drooled thinking about it. It is, Wu Hong nodded. But enough about me. What's your favorite food? I was going to say braised beef, specifically, the one you made for me by infusing the essence of 12 Tier 9 demon bulls into it, but I feel a sense of inferiority after what you just said. As you should, Wu Hong said. That is a pathetic choice. And who is to blame? He stared at her. Yourself, of course, she replied. You could have hunted a few demon Empyreans and learned to make excellent meals with those materials. From what I remember, you had many unique ideas on the culinary arts. So, it's your fault for not pursuing this path and relying on me, I mean her, to dictate your standard of food. Is this a challenge? Wang Wei asked. I'm just stating the truth. It's not my fault if that hurts you. Okay, you've done it. You've successfully struck my pride, Wang Wei sneered. I want you to remember this day. One day, it'll make a meal way better than your favorite or most outstanding culinary achievements. I hope when that day comes, your pride won't get in the way of admitting it is better. No need to worry about that, Wu Hong chuckled, her smile brightening the room. Since that day will never come. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1260 Time Mark and ChronoSpirit. Well, this was more enjoyable than I anticipated, Wu Hong said as she stood up. Wang Wei's eyes were the most focused he's ever been in his life. Sadly, there was a mist around her body that even his fate eyes could not penetrate. Damn it, he cursed, but his face remained unchanged. It's not like I haven't seen it before. A robe appeared around Wu Hong as she fixed her hair. Leaving already? I have something to do, she nodded. Wu Hong then looked at Wang Wei. You should be careful. Even if destiny is on your side, you should not treat these people carelessly. No matter what, they are paragons and that alone makes them a threat. I do take them seriously. Then, Why haven't you protected your time mark or established a ChronoSpirit? Have you done so for your subordinate? You practice time Dao, so there should be no issue. Wang Wei frowned. Time mark and ChronoSpirits are essential for battles between paragons. To be precise, battles between boundless and inextinguishable paragons. These two entities are complicated to kill. One has too many ways to revive themselves, while the other is unkillable unless you weaken their will. However, body refiners are essentially sadists who temper their will by pushing their bodies to the extreme, making their willpower terrifying beyond comprehension. Given the survivability of these creatures, there should be a ton of them, especially since they have an infinite lifespan. Unfortunately, that is not entirely true. There is a quick and efficient way to kill these creatures. Kill their weak past selves. The restraint of the river of time is at an all-time low for paragons, so dealing with each other or weak entities from the eternal path is the best way to deal with them. However, things also become complicated when it comes to messing with time, especially in source chaos worlds. Any changes to time from these worlds can have butterfly effects on the primary river of time that runs through the entire chaos universe. As such, paragons had to be clever in how they went about erasing someone from the past. Firstly, they must isolate their enemy's timeline from the river of fate through their time mark before killing them. The process was like scooping one drop of water from an ocean before destroying that drop to prevent it from influencing the entire ocean. To protect themselves, paragons will refine ChronoSpirits, an entity that hides their marks and protects their timeline. In the early stages of the development of this world, it was common for someone to secretly discover a paragon's time mark and kill them before they could react. Then, the concept of ChronoSpirit was invented by someone before spreading and becoming part of Paragon's must-do list. I never planned to meet these parasites before protecting myself, Wang Wei thought. He knew it was easier for someone of higher cultivation to detect someone else's time mark, so he had already been protected by his mark with past Buddha self. As for his ChronoSpirit, he planned to refine it after he entered the taboo realm and acquired paragon strength. My time mark is protected, and I plan to refine the spirit later on when I'm stronger, Wang Wei explained. It's not good enough, Wu Hong shook her head. She raised her hand to condense 2 talismans. This is my experience on the matter. Take this seriously since it involves your life. Wang Wei received the talisman, and before he could do a preliminary check, she had disappeared, leaving a few last words. We'll meet again once the celebration starts. Wang Wei smiled. I'm glad to see she's still a little drama queen. He may not have detected how fate was guiding him to meet Wu Hong in this place, but there is no chance she did not detect it. Yet she did not hide, leave, or send him away. Instead, she waited and even wanted to take him by surprise to see how he would react. Wang Wei focused and read the information in the talisman. His happiness soon dissipated. She was right. My method of hiding my mark was truly insufficient. With a brief introduction, Wang Wei realized his methods were shoddy even to the weakest paragon. Wang Wei sighed. He had just wholly adapted to how Empyreans fought and felt confident that his current techniques would be sufficient against paragons once he entered the taboo battle realm. However, Wu Hong's warning reminded him that paragon battles were another dimension of complexity. Why didn't the sect remind me? Wang Wei said with gritted teeth, trying to blame someone. Since ascending to the upper dimension, he kept making small mistakes, but they were all errors that could easily end his life and cultivation journey. Wang Wei exhaled to calm down. He knew there was no point in blaming them since he was the one who refused to receive their complete help. The information they provided them warned him of Paragon's ability. Additionally, they probably figured he would lay low for countless Yuan epochs to cultivate in the shadow, and only after becoming a paragon would he start dealing with these parasites. Success can easily breed arrogance, and arrogance is the bane of success, Wang Wei thought as he exhaled. He frowned as he realized something. Her tone when she warned me, it was like the danger I'm going to face was not the far future but something coming soon. Does she know something? Countless thoughts flashed in his mind. Could it be that whatever major event that is going to happen involves one of the parasites? It would make sense why I could not detect anything. Wang Wei previously thought he failed because Heavenly Tao was involved since so many people with great destinies were present, and possibly because of Sun Junyo's perfect aura that protected her. However, it could be those things and the fact that a paragon will appear in this event. But how can one of them show up in this place? Can they just leave the battlefield unattended? Or are they just sending a clone or projection? Wang Wei frowned. With Sun Junyo's appeal, he would not be surprised if one of these bastards sneaks in to see her. I need to prepare. Wang Wei immediately contacted Wang Qi and the others, ordering them to prepare for a possible battle. He also activated his spirit particle in the fate-changing hall, sending a message to all the members to prepare for the possibility of a world-class mission, which was semi-mandatory. According to the hall's rules, everyone would be aware of the mission but could still choose not to participate. However, the benefits of such a mission usually offered triple the reward, at a minimum. Of course, it is also stated clearly that such a mission was also generally extremely difficult, hence the increased incentive. Since the hall started, this would be the first world-class mission. I should also prepare some talismans to protect my men's time marks, as she said, Wang Wei thought. He began to comprehend the talisman's contents to prepare while enjoying this bath. Wang Wei lost track of time, and it wasn't until he felt a rush of energy that traveled through his body that he woke up. I've completed the initial stage of body-will fusion. He sensed everybody happening in his body. Now, I only need to pass the flesh tribulation, and I can enter the fourth heaven and the middle stage. Hopefully, I won't have a bottleneck. The effect of the hot spring was better than he had imagined. Now that the spring no longer had any effect on him, Wang Wei left. He was in an excellent mood. His first encounter with his future wife went well despite the initial awkwardness. She gave him a present, and he made progress in his cultivation. With such an excellent mood, he searched again for hot springs to help him. He discovered one that gave a 10% blessing in cultivating the soul and used it. By the time he finished, it was time for his meeting with Su Shi and Lin Fan, so Wang Wei left. Their meeting was in a private booth in the best restaurant at the center location. The restaurant was called Beauty Palette, and Wang Wei suspected it was one of Sun Junyo's many industries. By the time he arrived, they were already waiting. I thought we were friends, Wang Wei said as soon as he entered the room. We are, Su Shi said, her expression showing she was confused by these words. Then, why are you telling Xiao Tiandi about my business? Oh, that, Su Shi replied. He came to see me, and his master is friends with our master, so I had to say something. Su Shi was clever and knew Wang Wei did not mind what she did. However, she immediately revealed small but significant information about Emperor Kong and Sun Junyao to appease him. And I did not say anything that wasn't semi-public. Is that so? Wang Wei nodded. He had suspicions about some connection between these two, but it was good to have confirmation. In that case, it's fine. The three sat down and started their reunion. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1261 Lin Fan's Grand Destiny, How are things have been? Wang Wei asked after sitting down. Good, Su Shi replied. It would have been better if the current situation was not as it is. The upper dimension has so many resources, and they have a kind teacher like Emperor Kong. I can tell, Wang Wei nodded. He noticed these two had already finished Foundation re-establishment, and they all completed 9 Supremacy Foundation and entered the 10-fold battle realm. How is Headmaster Bai Han doing? It's been a while since I saw him, Wang Wei asked, somewhat curious whether the latter had reconciled with his father. He's doing fine, Lin Fan said before quickly changing the conversation. Let me ask you, Suya never changed her mind, right? After everybody left, she stayed in the lower dimension, correct? Wang Wei looked at him. No, she is still in the lower dimension. Good, 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 he uttered 3 times, his eyes not hiding his killing intent. Have you thought about the consequences of killing her? I know the In Moon Palace is one of the upper members of the Grand Sect Alliance. However, the risk should be minimized if I can cultivate fast enough and kill her. Normally, that would be the case, Wang Wei replied. Does Suya have another identity? Su Shi immediately asked. They have been investigating the situation and planning this assassination for a while. Have you heard of the In Moon Palace's Desire Spectrum book? I heard it was one of their sect's luck-condensing artifacts, known to be terrifying for its power of illusion and controlling people's emotions, Su Shi replied. The Grand Sect Alliance used to hold a grand event in which countless sects, including the other overlords, would send their people to use the book to temper their Tao heart. Although these factions have their own method, they knew it paled in comparison to that book. As soon as Su Shi said these words, her face turned ugly. Lin Fan also figured out something and his expression mirrored his wife's. Could it be? That's right, Wang Wei nodded. Most people don't know that the book is divided into upper and lower parts. The upper part was created by 9 paragons with the 6 emotions, 7 desires physique, most of which were artificially created since not everyone from the lower dimension could become paragons. Meanwhile, the lower part is incomplete because only the emperors from the lower dimension can write it. Su Ye will be the 8th writer from the lower dimension, meaning the palace will greatly value her, especially if she becomes an eternal. Su Shi and Lin Fan were quiet. They thought they were lucky since the In Moon Palace did not cultivate one of the Alliance's 5 primal paragons. Sadly, they were confronted with another terrible truth, the limitations of their background. No matter how good Emperor Kong and the Academy's current situation was, it did not change the fact that they were new, meaning they were not privy to many secrets. Additionally, it meant that when facing these ancient behemoths, they could only suffer. And this might not be the extent of her value, Wang Wei added. There is more? Su Shi asked. Once this era ends, we will not return to the era of the 13 Overlord. The next era will be the race for transcendence. Su Shi and Lin Fan squinted. Emperor Kong once said something similar but never elaborated on what that meant despite their asking. He only said they were too weak to get involved in such matters. After that book is completed, it might reveal a path to transcendence, thus raising its level to an incomprehensible level, Wang Wei continued. He was not saying these words out of nowhere. After his encounter with the Heart Desire Palace, he believed these people had mastered a transcendent path involving 6 emotions, 7 desires, and obsession. What exactly is transcendence? Su Shi asked. Wang Wei opened his mouth and was about to answer when a weird atmosphere enveloped the room, warning him not to talk too much to these ants about such secrets of heaven and earth. Well, as you can see, you two are too weak to know such a secret, Wang Wei shrugged. He once told these people some basic information about this path, but he planned to be more detailed this time. However, it seems Grand Dao was not happy with his actions. Meanwhile, Su Shi and Lin Fan's faces were paled. The aura that descended in the room was genuinely terrifying. However, you should be able to deduce some information, Wang Wei added. The 2 sons, Lin Fan uttered. They had guessed these 2 had transcended the Paragon realm. That's right, Wang Wei nodded. So, there is nothing we can do? Lin Fan said, anger and hatred flashing in his eyes. I never said that, Wang Wei continued. It will be a race, but just because you guys are behind doesn't mean you can catch up and surpass the people from the Grand Sect Alliance. After all, do you think anyone can walk that path? If Methreya was telling the truth, she plans to share how to achieve half-step transcendence with the world, giving the factions in the Eternal Ascension world a greater opportunity for advancement than the rest of the Chaos universe. However, even with her gracious actions, the amount of people who will succeed will be counted on one hand. No, the Eternal Ascension world is the destiny center of the Chaos universe, so that number might increase by 2 or 3 times, but even then, it will take a long time before such a thing is possible. Additionally, Wang Wei has predicted a large migration of foreigners into the Eternal Ascension world who wish to compete for this opportunity. The situation will be chaotic, so it's not even guaranteed some factions from the previous 13 overlords will survive until they can give birth to a half-step transcendent. He did not mention that the In Moon Palace would have a target on their backs once people realize the value of that book. Overall, Su Shi and Lin Fan's situation is not as hopeless as it seems, but it's also not as good since their academy is not even a paragon lineage. Thank you for telling us this information, Su Shi said after regaining her composure. Yes, truly, thank you, Lin Fan added. They might have discovered some of this information later on, but the part about transcendence was uncertain. At the very least, it would be too late when they learned about it. Now that they know everything, they can better prepare for what cause of action to take next. No problem, Wang Wei waved his hand. He told them for 2 reasons. Firstly, Su Shi was indeed a friend, so he did mind provided some help to her. However, this was now his primary motive. Lin Fan's current situation reminded him of these protagonists in novels who wanted revenge. Unfortunately, their target was a powerful faction that forced them to cultivate a much higher realm before avenging their hatred. One way luck and destiny manifest themselves is by giving their chosen one an impossible task to conquer, Wang Wei thought. Lin Fan, as a possible chess piece of the Chaos Demon Gods, was granted the destiny of overcoming the Yin Moon Palace. No, with how weird Emperor Kong's destiny is, it might be their task is to overcome one of the 13 overlords, and luckily, it's the Grand Sect Alliance. These 2 were lucky their destiny did not target the Dao opening sect. Otherwise, Wang Wei would immediately eliminate them after deducing everything. He would not even spare Su Shi because of their friendship. The question now is why the Grand Sect Alliance? Wang Wei thought. Was it chosen randomly amount of the 13 overlord? Or because they were previously the most powerful? Countless thoughts flashed in his mind. It could also be related to that book. If it's really a prototype to a transcendent path, maybe their sect cannot bear the luck of having such an object, and their eventual destruction is the result of luck backlash, Wang Wei analyzed. This conjecture sounds the most logical and likely, but I feel something bigger is at play. There is a more grand picture that I'm not seeing. Su Shi glanced at Wang Wei. She could tell he knew way more than he was letting on. However, she also knew there was no point in asking since he did not share it in the first place. Everything this man did was calculated, so there was no point in asking if he had already decided how much information to share. All right, let's get on topic, Wang Wei said. He had already deduced Lin Fan's future, which was full of struggle against the Grand Sect Alliance and his attempt at reviving his child. Although he felt bad for his friend that was about to get sucked into that whirlpool, there was nothing he could do unless Su Shi wished to separate from him. The only thing Wang Wei can do is, at the right time, remind her to lean more on Emperor Kong's destiny so as not to be swallowed entirely by her husband's destiny. It would be best for her to acquire a destiny on par with these 2, but this was not a simple feat. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1262 The Academies. Did Emperor Kong say anything about the celebration? Wang Wei asked. Anything specific? Su Shi asked. Anything about how weird this event is? The master did start acting weird after arriving in this place, Lin Fan added. As soon as he arrived, he told us he wanted to check something and left. He didn't tell us anything else, Su Shi nodded. So, Kong is not part of this event, Wang Wei thought. However, with the latter's friendship with Sun Junyao, he might be able to get more information. Do you want to see our master? Su Shi asked. That would be best, Wang Wei nodded. We will pass your request to him, Su Shi said. The 3 then chatted about many other things, mainly their experience since ascending. The food was delicious, but Wang Wei was disappointed after imagining the food his future wife talked about. Once everything finished, they separated. Wang Wei returned to his inn and started protecting his time mark. He realized it was hard to improvise substantially in such a short period, so he thought of another method inspired by his meeting with Old Man Tianji. He used the time mark of a bunch of mortals and people weaker than him to hide his mark. He summoned a projection of the River of Fate to control the mortals. As for the cultivators and people weaker than him, Wang Wei mainly used the people from his fate-changing hall. With this method, a paragon would have to skim through trillions of other people's time marks before having a chance at finding his. Emperor Enlightening Academy's resting post, Su Shi and Lin Fan returned home. After today's meeting, they had a lot on their minds, so they remained quiet for more than an hour after returning home. Do you think we should tell the master what we've learned? Lin Fan asked. It's probably best if we do so. We won't be able to hide it for long anyway. True. They waited for a few hours until Emperor Kong returned home. He was apparently distracted, his mind still occupied by whatever meeting he had just attended. However, as soon as Kong saw his disciples, he could tell they wanted to speak to him. Did something happen? Well, yes, Sushir said. She took a moment and explained everything that occurred with the meeting with Wang Wei. The Grand Sect Alliance again. It seems they are destined to be our enemy, Emperor Kong sighed. The most prominent academy of the Eternal Ascension world is the Benevolent Oath Academy, and they are the top member of the Alliance, taking a spot amongst the 5 primal paragons. However, that academy suffered tremendously in this era as the parasites eradicated or shut down all their branches because they did not want them to continue training more cultivators and because the academy had such an enormous influence due to how many cultivators owed them karmic debt. Then, Emperor Kong came along and convinced the parasites to reopen the academies to serve them under his leadership. Since then, the Benevolent Oath Academy has sent people to secretly contact him, both in an attempt to recruit and intimidate him. After experiencing a few plots and schemes, Emperor Kong has long predicted that the Alliance might be the destined enemy in his rise to the top of the Eternal Ascension world. The Een Moon Palace, Emperor Kong muttered. I never thought they would become such an important piece. He still could not understand how this book involved the transcendent path. Then, he remembered something, the Heart Desire Palace? Kong had collected the ruins and records of many top lineages to make up for his academy's foundation, so he knew many secrets. It would explain why so many factions feared them, Emperor Kong thought. Everything makes sense if these 2 factions had half-step transcendence cultivators before the ultimate taboo. Now that he had figured out the ins and outs, Emperor Kong thought about how to use this information. Sadly, as of now, their academy is too weak to get involved in anything associated with transcendence. Master, what should we do now? Lin Fan asked. We must take this opportunity that the Grand Sect Alliance's paragons and primals are dead to secretly weaken them as much as possible, Emperor Kong stated. We can probably work with Wang Wei, Sushir shared. With his personality, he won't accept the Dao opening sect not being the best. In fact, he's probably already planning on how to weaken the Grand Sect Alliance. That's a good idea, Emperor Kong nodded. However, if what you say about him is true, we should watch out so that he doesn't sacrifice us when things are over. True, Sushir nodded. By the way, he also wants to meet you. It's about time we meet officially, Emperor Kong nodded. However, let's wait until the celebration ends. Sun Junyao refused to tell him anything concrete, but with Wang Wei's presence and his destiny, he guessed something significant was about to happen. As such, he decided to wait and observe first before meeting Wang Wei. Master, did something happen on your side? Lin Fan asked. Emperor Kong's eyes suddenly lit up. I just received some important news from Sun Junyao that benefits our current situation. I was previously hesitating given the risks involved, but now, I know this may be our only chance. Oh. It's about something called the Mortalhood trial, Emperor Kong stated before explaining everything. That is indeed great news, Lin Fan said. He did not know when Suya would ascend, but the higher their cultivation by the time she did, the better the situation for him. Do you want me to ask Wang Wei to convince the Dao opening sect? Sushir asked. No need for that for now, Emperor Kong replied. Sun Junyao told me she would meet with the Dao opening sect's current sect leader and ask him personally. If that doesn't work, we'll use the Wang Wei approach. Good, she nodded. One more thing. You guys need to leave immediately, Emperor Kong said. How why? I can't get any information about the situation, but I know for sure it will be dangerous, Emperor Kong said. So, it's because we're too weak, Sushir said, saying what he did not want to say. You guys are young and full of potential, meaning you have plenty of room to grow, Emperor Kong reassured them. Lin Fan sighed. It's a shame. What? Upset that you won't get to see the most beautiful woman in the world, Sushir sneered. Aren't you curious? Lin Fan asked. The way some people describe her beauty is even more extreme than those fanatic believers who give everything, including their life and soul, to their gods. The craziest people Lin Fan had met were fanatic believers. He once took a task from the rebellion to recruit this god, who walked the faith path, and his fanatic believers were something else. However, the descriptions of people regarding Sun Junyo's beauty are even more extreme. Lin Fan once heard a rumor that an everlasting Empyrean went mad because he tried to paint Sun Junyao but failed to capture the essence of her beauty. He thought this was a rumor, but his master confirmed this news. Master, is she truly that beautiful? Lin Fan asked. Su Shi looked at her master, also intrigued. Although she once held the title of the most beautiful woman in the world, there were few individuals who could compete with her in the entire lower dimension. And in the eternal ascension world, her beauty might be in the top 10, maybe even top 20. How do I explain it? Emperor Kong uttered. You know the saying, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder? They nodded. Well, she's the embodiment of that. Su Shi and Lin Fan were confused as this was not what they expected him to say. On the contrary, they thought he would say something like her beauty transcends preference, ethnicity, and even race. So, they looked at him with an expression that said, what does that even mean? You'll have plenty of opportunities to meet her and understand what I'm saying, Emperor said, refusing to elaborate more. Now, prepare to leave. I don't want you to be drawn into this chaos accidentally. The two had to prepare for their departure. Su Shi facilitated the upcoming meeting with Wang Wei before leaving the ubiquitous hot spring world. Meanwhile, Wang Wei spent the rest of the time working on his time mark. The Heavenly Beauty Palace descended on the central area a week after his arrival. 3 days later, the celebration started, causing a small commotion. On that day, it became apparent that 3 kinds of people were attending: VIPs, common invitations, and no invitation. The VIPs were in a separate room above the celebration area. They were the first to arrive, and most did so quietly without exposure to the public. Xiao Tiandi was kind enough to give Wang Wei a VIP invitation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1263. Second meeting. Wang Wei walked into his room and immediately stopped. His lips twitched as he saw a woman with long black hair already there. Young lady, you're in the wrong booth. Am I? Wu Hong replied. She continued sipping her drink without looking at him. Wang Wei sighed and sat on the cushion next to her. He looked at her black hair. Your hair looks great, he commented. At least try to make the compliments sound plausible. I'm very sincere. Wu Hong looked him in the eyes. Your current appearance is very handsome. Wang Wei's lips twitched and he reverted the transformation. See? Now we no longer match. Just turn your hair black. How about we compromise and choose another color? How about we retain our individualistic identities and choose something we enjoy? Fair, Wang Wei nodded. The room had a small table before them with a wine bowl. Yours or something the celebration served? Not mine, but it's quite enjoyable, Wu Hong replied. It's celestial monkey wine. Although there is no benefit for your realm, it's extremely delicious. Wang Wei trusted this rich woman's taste, so he took a sip. His eyes immediately lit up as she was correct. This thing was absurdly delicious. After a sip, his essence chi flower activated, and he could feel the bottleneck between the 3rd and 4th heavens slowly dissipating. If not for the fact he needed to pass the tribulation, he might have immediately entered the 4th heaven. Wang Wei soon finished the wine in his glass, and the thing filled itself without him doing anything. They went all out, haven't they? This is the bare minimum for a celebration of this scale. Did you ever have a grand celebration like this? Yes, for becoming a paragon and primal, Wu Hong replied. I figure you were not the type for grand celebrations. Now, I'm not, but in my younger years. Wu Hong did not elaborate further. Plus, it's a great way to amass resources. Wang Wei nodded. As they were talking, the celebration officially started. Wang Wei and Wu Hong's booth was on the 2nd floor, but there was a formation that allowed them to see the events on the 1st floor while hiding their booth. Great Emperor Jinlong from the Star Envoy Palace, said a beautiful voice that echoed throughout the palace. Gift, a tier 11 star nourishing pill. A thin man with a robe with star patterns walked on the first floor and found his name on one of the seats. Starting strong, I see, Wang Wei commented. The star nourishing pill was an extreme healing medicine. If an Empyrean died and wanted to revive themselves, the pill would allow them to return with full strength in less than 10 yuan epoch, which is an absurdly short time for an Empyrean to revive unless they use longevity resources or a pile of rare resources. Great Emperor Dragon Eyes, Loose Cultivator. Gift, Tai Soul Pill. Another extremely rare pill, Wang Wei thought. This pill was one of the best to help Empyreans condense a paragon soul. This bastard probably got it by chance, but he ruined his destiny by giving it to a woman who won't give him a second glance after this celebration. Wang Wei looked at the short man with reptilian eyes walking into the room. As expected, after checking his Chi Luck Dragon, Wang Wei saw signs of decay. His dragon eye is not bad. Maybe I can recruit him into the Changing Fate Hall. The announcement continued, and soon afterward, the announcer started introducing Empyreans, who were the majority of attendees at this event. And as expected, the gifts became more extravagant. Someone even brought a life-defying pill as a gift, which was a second-order longevity pill. Wang Wei cursed these horny bastards once everybody was introduced. The announcer said, "Now, for the VIPs." She paused for a brief second. Firstly, Empress Wu from Origin Seal Continent. She could not attend the event, but she sent her regards and a protective talisman. The murmurs started as soon as she announced this. A few taboo entities existed in this terrible era, and everyone knew Empress Wu was at the top. And even if the announcer did not specify the protective talisman level, they could guess. Wang Wei looked at her. "So, are you a ghost or something? Is that your attempt at humor?" "That was terrible," Wu Hong said as she sipped her drink. Wang Wei shrugged. "I have my low points and don't change the subject. When it comes to events like this, I rarely show myself publicly since my presence intimidates people. Plus, when it's not about me, I don't want to draw too much attention during someone else's event." "I guess that makes sense," Wang Wei nodded. The announcer then announced someone from the Grand Sect Alliance, followed by someone from the Dao Opening Sect. It was the sect master, an everlasting Empyrean called Yu Kai, and he brought a Tier 12 void-breaking talisman as a gift. So, in this generation, someone from the sectarian faction is the sect master in the upper dimension? Wang Wei pondered. Then, something suddenly came to mind, so he looked at Wu Hong. "By the way, did my ancestor come as well? Now you remember her?" Wu Hong almost rolled her eyes. "She's in retreat. Is everything all right?" "She had some inspiration about her swordsmanship," Wu Hong explained. "Can she still have inspiration about swordsmanship?" "Or right, she did change to the ultimate sword path," Wang Wei nodded, sipping his tea. "You once told me that if you had a life and death fight with her, you would be the last one standing despite the fact her attack potency surpasses yours. Will that still be the case after her retreat?" "Yes," Wu Hong replied confidently. "Really? Why do you sound surprised?" "I figure you both should have improved after the ultimate taboo, which should cancel each other out. Then, with the ultimate taboo and you not using the perfect foundation, the ancestor would have the advantage. You have underestimated the complexity of battle amongst paragons who have truly reached the limit of power," Wu Hong explained. "And I can tell you, in the Chaos universe, a very small number of paragons can defeat me in a battle. However, there is no one I cannot kill. It's just that the price I'll have to pay is my life, which is not worth it." Damn, her overwhelming confidence is hot, Wang Wei thought, trying to remain calm and composed not to embarrass him. "Quite confident, aren't you? I wonder where it comes from?" "That is for me to know and for you to hopefully learn about," Wu Hong replied, and Wang Wei just smiled. He knew their trust in each other was nowhere near the level of the other clone. "What's your relationship with Sun Junyao?" Wang Wei suddenly asked. "Why are you asking?" Wu Hong asked calmly. "Are you already planning on how to regulate your harem properly?" Wang Wei almost dropped the cup he was putting on his mouth. Luckily, his control of strength was unworldly, so nothing happened. He continued his sip before calmly replying, "Don't say such a thing. My poor heart cannot handle the stress from your words." Wu Hong gave him a short glance before replying, "I'm the one who protected her from the claws of those bastards." "Really? I thought she used their attraction for him to balance them out and keep herself safe." "She did, but such a tactic can only be effective to a certain extent," Wu Hong explained. "When it comes to these beasts who are drunk on power, it wouldn't surprise anyone if they used force to get what they want or decide to share her like an object. And even if the men could be controlled, the woman would also want to destroy her out of jealousy." "So, you warn them?" "I put the fear of God in their soul." Wang Wei resisted the urge to yell the words, "Damn, that's hot." Instead, he sighed deeply. "What's wrong?" Wang asked. "Power is truly an attractive thing." Wu Hong was baffled since these words came out of nowhere. Then she remembered what a little pervert this bastard was. She glanced at him and smirked. Meanwhile, Wang Wei was satisfied he was able to express his desire in a more sophisticated manner. The announcements continued, and soon, Wang Wei heard of someone he knew, Emperor Kong. The latter's gift was a sage blessing banner, which surprised Wang Wei slightly, but it also made sense. This banner was something that only people who condense a golden body of merit can refine at a small cost. It contains some of the protective ability of Sage of Merit, along with a significant cultivation blessing. The announcements continued, and Wang Wei's name was the last person from the VIP section to be read out loud. Wei Tian, loose cultivator and close friend of young master Xiao Tiandi, the voice announced. "Gift." She suddenly paused, making people wonder if this person embarrassed themselves and did not even bring a gift. "An acquired perfect tier," she announced a few seconds later. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1264 The Perfect Beauty. Does such a thing exist? Someone murmured. Maybe? He wouldn't be stupid to bring something fake to this celebration, right? Who knows? These people will do anything to gain Lady Sun's favor, another person sneered. You're wrong, said a third person. Do you know something? Acquired perfect tier does exist, and only those who have made some progress in studying immortal perfection can condense it. However, it takes so much time and effort that it's not worth it. So, this guy is an expert? Not necessarily. He might have just found it somewhere. Perfect tear. The rumors are Lady Sun is a reincarnation of such a thing. Doesn't that mean his gift is literally the perfect one? Once someone said that, the room instantly became quiet. Then, jealousy poured in. It was so intense that it almost condensed into a visible form. Everyone wished they had thought of such a gift or capable of making/acquiring it. Second floor, what a thoughtful gift, Wu Hong commented. Isn't it? Wang Wei replied as he sipped his wine. He had to use his perfect aura and some of his blood to condense that thing. And even then, if not for the fact he had intimate knowledge of the tier's composition and effect, he might not have succeeded. Is it me, or do I hear the sound of jealousy? Wang Wei chuckled. You wish. Don't worry. When I bring you gifts, they will be more personal and thoughtful. Wu Hong resisted the urge to roll her eyes and continued drinking. The celebration continued despite many people who had decided they would remember Wang Wei, especially if his gift had any positive effect on Lady Sun. According to these people's thinking, since Wei Tian is the young master's peer, he should only be a great emperor. So, many people thought of secretly educating them, some even planning on how to assassinate him. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring the lady with your presence, the announcer stated, her beautiful voice calm and steady. However, the banquet is limited, so not everyone can participate. So, for those without an invitation, we've designated an area outside the palace for your stay. There will be visual formations to display what is happening inside. As soon as she said these words, a cacophony of voices thanked her and the palace for her generosity. The number of people without an invitation was at least 100 times larger than the rest, and these people knew it was shameful for them to show up uninvited. So, they respected that the heavenly beauty palace treated them so kindly despite their social indiscretion. The announcer calmly accepted these people's respect before continuing, "Now that everything is settled, let the celebration begin. Ladies and gentlemen, respected immortals, emperors, and empyreans, please welcome the palace master." Everyone on the first floor stood up. This banquet hall floor was large, with countless people sitting at their small personal tables. The room was shaped like a rectangle with a stadium on the west side. An intoxicating smell suddenly enveloped the palace, followed by multicolored flowers and beautiful tiny fairies dancing around. A woman walked onto the podium. She wore a slightly modified formal white and yellow dress that trailed more than 3 meters behind her as she walked. She wore a light gold phoenix hairpiece to hold her hair. Meanwhile, the upper part of her robe was elegant and noble, but once it reached the lower part, it was more open as each stride showed her long white leg with skin so smooth that a baby would be jealous. As she walked into the room, so many people instinctively stopped breathing. It was as if they feared their shallow breath would affect the natural rhythm that her body naturally emitted. The light in the room dimmed everywhere except where she stood, which was not something she did but a natural effect of her heavy defying beauty. Sounds of the Tao naturally accompanied Sun Junyao, and even the ground of the podium she walked on suddenly became more lively as if it was a blessing for her to walk upon it. Everyone on the first floor looked at her in a daze, all with a look of desire, longing, and pure joy. In fact, the joy these people were experiencing was so intense that it affected their very soul. If any of them could control themselves and immediately enter seclusion, they would realize that many of their past bottlenecks had exponentially reduced, and their cultivation speed had a blessing of 20%. On the second floor, Wang Wei was stunned after laying eyes on Sun Junyao. "What do you see?" Wu Hong suddenly said. "I see you, but more perfect," Wang Wei answered in a trance-like state. He finally understood why so many people were infatuated with her. No matter who looked at her, they would see an optimized version of whatever they think is the most beautiful person. In other words, for people with Tao companions who believe their partner is the most beautiful woman in the world, that's who they will see with some improvement. However, if that is not the case, they will see whatever their idealized version of beauty is but with a touch of improvement/imperfection. In simpler terms, Sun Junyo's perfect beauty meant she had a filter on her face at all times. "Wait," Wang Wei suddenly said as he turned to look at Wu Hong. "Did you just use a spiritual hint on me? I wanted you to tell the truth." Wang Wei squinted his eyes, snorted coldly, and turned around to continue looking at Sun Junyao. He took a sip of his drink, but that thing was no longer as delicious. Sun Junyao glanced at Wang Wei's booth from the corner of her eyes. She could tell the one she wanted to meet was there. She also realized that he was the one her disciple invited, which was an unexpected coincidence, and explained many things about his weird behavior. "No, not a coincidence, it's fate," Sun Junyao thought. She smiled, instantly brightening the room. "I sincerely thank all of you for giving me the honor of attending my celebration." She cupped her hand and saluted everyone. Her pleasant voice echoed in the room. "The honor is ours," replied the first-floor attendees, their voices in perfect harmony. However, one of the empyreans on the second floor suddenly said, "Laxi Sun Junyao, I wish you eternal beauty, everlasting success, and boundless merit in your cultivation journey." The other people cursed that they reacted so slowly. So, everyone said in unison, "Lady Sun Junyao, we wish you eternal beauty, everlasting." "Thank you," Sun Junyao said with a sincere smile before motioning for everyone to sit down as she did so. "I only have 2 hobbies, enjoying good food and appreciating the art, and that's exactly what we're going to do for the first part of this banquet." She pointed to a small designated area before her stadium. "If anyone wishes to show their talent, now is the time." One person from the first floor was swift, and before she even finished her words, he was already on the talent podium. "Laxi Sun, I am Empyrean Heartfelt Song. I have spent 30,000 yuan epochs writing this song for you." "I've heard about you," Sun Junyao nodded. This man was slightly famous because he was an ordinary nightingale demon with a low bloodline that slowly crawled to his current level. He was also a renowned musician with outstanding achievements in sound Dao. Heartfelt Song felt great joy by these words, but he quickly controlled himself. He closed his eyes briefly to enter the best state before singing. Second floor, I can tell you're upset, Wu Hong said. Wang Wei did not say anything. A snack appeared on his table. They were fruits that resembled grapes, except they were red, blue, and purple. He sensed the power of the sun, moon, and stars in these grapes, so he tried them. They were delicious and beneficial to the soul, but he was not in the mood, so he stopped after tasting the 3 flavors. The silent treatment, really? Isn't that a little immature? Wu Hong continued. Wang Wei summoned a gourd to drink his own wine. He also chose a strong one that could give him the buzz feeling of getting drunk. Wu Hong sighed. She knew he would be upset. After all, influencing someone who hates being controlled and pursues absolute freedom is genuinely terrible. I knew you might react this way, so I brought this for you. A small opened box appeared in her hand with a red pill with Dao patterns in the form of a dragon. Wang Wei glanced at it and recognized it. A primordial essence blessing pill. After eating it, he can instantly rise 3 levels in the adult fiend god realm as long as he takes it before the 6th heaven. In other words, after entering the 3rd heaven and eating this pill, Wang Wei can immediately reach the 7th heaven. This thing is scarce because of the material and because it requires a paragon pill refiner to make it, even though it's only usable by Empyreans. He looked at the pill. He did not touch it but focused on her. I haven't heard an apology yet. I'm sorry truly, Wu Hong stated without hesitation. Wang Wei looked her in the eyes. He understood why she did it. She's not as trusting as her other selves, which is understandable. However, he was not happy with how he went about it. You should understand, as you require certain decorum, understanding, and respect from me, I also require the same thing from you, Wang Wei stated. I do, Wu Hong nodded. I promised I won't cross that line again. Fine, I can forgive you, Wang Wei said. But I also want a kiss on the cheek. Don't push your luck. Wang Wei raised his hand in submission. He had to try. He put the pill away with a smile on the corner of his mouth. He sipped his gourd but felt this thing was too heavy for the occasion, so he went back to drinking his monkey wine. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1265 The Faceless Woman. So, we're good? Wang asked. Of course, Wang Wei nodded. But I would like to remind you that in our future arguments, I will be petty and bring up today's event to win. Wu Hong's body suddenly paused before sneering. Do that, and I will bring up the maid, Dong Lifen, and even her. She pointed at Sun Junyao in the stadium. Wang Wei looked at her with mouth open. He was speechless. That's a dirty move, and you know it. Since you want to be petty, 2 can play this game. Wang Wei was out of words, so he could only eat his grape and sip his drink in response. He had lost this battle of words. By the way, what does she truly look like? Wang Wei asked, finding Sun Junyo's situation quite fascinating. You don't want to know. Now, I'm even more curious, Wang Wei said as he focused his eyes. He tried to look through whatever power was around her face and body. However, it was to no avail, so Wang Wei had to summon a projection of the River of Fate to boost his efforts. Sadly, even that did not work. Feeling challenged, Wang Wei chose to use more extreme measures. He temporarily lifted the seals in his soul, accessing the full power of his paragon soul. He observed Sun Junyao alone with his soul, and the result was the same. She looked like a more perfect version of Wu Hong. Wang Wei then immediately activated the perfect aura from his body and used it in tandem with his paragon soul. Her face blurred temporarily as if he was about to break through that veil, but he failed at the last minute. Wang Wei sighed in resignation and looked at Wu Hong. A little help, please. Are you sure you want to see? She asked a second time. I am. All right. She tapped on the side of his forehead, and Wang Wei's eyes suddenly felt a cold power running through it. He immediately focused on Sun Junyao, and his eyes squinted. She has no face? That's right. Wang Wei calmly observed her. It was truly bizarre. In his current sight, her head was empty with no skull, muscles, tissues, or any skins, just nothing there. He checked her soul and it was there, but it also had facial expressions, just a vague outline of her face. What's going on? Wang Wei asked. It's her curse, Wu Hong explained. An innate curse? It was rare for cultivators to be born with a curse, but it does happen. For example, the Sword Empress was born with her talent sealed, which can be considered an innate curse. Even worse, it's a Grandao curse, Wu Hong explained. Nothingness and perfection are the most common path of transcendence, especially the latter. For eons, countless people believed it was the only way to go beyond the Paragon realm, and they were correct. Becoming perfect means becoming closer to resembling Grandao. Do you think it would allow someone who embodies the concept of perfection to exist without adverse effects? So, Grandao created a flaw for Sun Junyao by taking away her face, ensuring she was not truly perfect and that no one could study her to achieve true perfection, Wang Wei sighed. That's right. Wang Wei became quiet. What? Now that you know the truth, are you less attracted to her? Wu Hong asked with a smirk. Is that your goal? Are you trying to eliminate the competition? Wang Wei retorted and she rolled her eyes. She would not have shown it to him if that were the case. Wang Wei chuckled. I think it's worth it. She loses her face, but in exchange, she has the best foundation to walk the transcendent path. As long as Sun Junyao becomes a peak paragon and has some achievements in studying immortal perfection, she can make up for her flaw and use that foundation to enter the half-step transcendence realm. You're only saying that because you're looking at things purely logically, Wu Hong added. People have been telling the poor girl she was the most beautiful woman in the world for as long as she can remember. Yet, whenever she tries to look at herself, she sees nothing. I've read about people like her during my travels in primordial chaos, and from my experience, all those people die tragically by taking their own lives. The fact that Sun Junyao can live until she becomes a paragon is a testament to her willpower and Dao heart. You make a good point, Wang Wei nodded. Now that she reminded him of this perspective, his respect for Sun Junyao increased immensely. I now kind of understand what kind of vulnerable mindset she was in when she chose that Dao, Wang Wei stated. However, I think it's a waste. Chaos Dao is literally perfect for her. Chaos Dao? Wu Hong muttered, and she immediately understood. The primary 3800 Dao represents the original and perfect state of the universe, so they match her situation. And it seems even fate is trying to guide her by granting someone with the first physique as her disciple. Then Wu Hong frowned. You notice too? Yes, it's a contradiction, Wu Hong nodded. Grandao restricts her by limiting her perfection, but it also uses fate to influence her to walk the path of perfection. What do you think is the reason? Wang Wei asked. Grandao's contradictions are usually because it wants people to play by the established rules, Wu Hong replied calmly. So, it could mean it wants Sun Junyao to walk that path, but she must work for it and earn that strength. Or, the more likely scenario, someone intervened and messed up Grandao's layup. The adjudicator of fate, Wang Wei replied. You think it's him? I know he did something for Grandao to wish to replace him, Wang Wei analyzed. What if his crime was studying perfection? Maybe, Wu Hong uttered. You don't agree? No, she replied. One of the fundamental characteristics of half-step transcendence is that the application of the rules no longer restricts them. The stronger they are, the more that is so. Although the fate adjudicator is technically an employee of Grandao, I don't think the rules would restrict him so much that he could not study perfection. You may have a point, Wang Wei nodded. So, what do you think he did? I think his crime was lusting after his boss power, Wu Hong said. As I said, perfection means becoming closer to Grandao. I think he wanted to cultivate a perfect being that contains the essence of Grandao. Then, he would study it in an attempt to reach higher levels. You may be into something, Wang Wei said with bright eyes. He peeked at the essence of Grandao when he established his perfection foundation. If he had someone like Sun Junyao, who achieved half-step transcendence, to learn from, Wang Wei could not imagine what he could accomplish. If that is genuinely his crime, I must say I respect him a lot more, Wang Wei stated. His views of the 6 cardinal tribunals are that they chose to serve Grand Dao in exchange for keeping their strength after their long service ended. However, he would respect him much more if the Fate Cardinal became ambitious and tried another method. Now we're on this topic, I suddenly thought of someone else. Are you talking about Di Tian? Yes, Wang Wei nodded. I originally thought he was a pawn of the Samsara Cardinal, but with his obsession with perfection, he might have been the Fate Cardinal's pawn first. Di Tian studied creation first and was already obsessed with creating the perfect life form in his first life. So, there is a high chance the Fate Cardinal abandoned him after his second life when he started cultivating Samsara Dao. Or, the Samsara Cardinal might have made a deal with Fate to get her hands on Di Tian. Wu Hong sighed. Obsession is a powerful force, but it's also the easiest way to manipulate someone. Wiser words have never been said, Wang Wei said as he chugged his win. So, what's your obsession? Me? It used to be to prove to the world that I was worthy, Wu Hong said. But now, it's no longer an obsession and more like a goal or desire that has been transformed into something else. I guess you're lucky to have escaped such a shackle, Wang Wei replied with a wry smile. Di Tian, Lin Fan, and likely Sun Junyao are pawns that these higher beings used obsession to control. But wasn't it the same for him? The sad truth is that as long as he is obsessed with pursuing freedom and becoming free and unfettered, he will always be a pawn. Discouraged? Wu Hong asked. Of course not, Wang Wei sneered. Until the very end, it's not known who is the pawn or who is the chess player. That's more like it, she smiled. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1266 The Lost Era. A new kind of snack appeared before Wang Wei, and it looked like Galo, to be specific, a slime. It took him a moment to recognize it as the spine fluid from a creature called the dragon spine lizard. This thing can instantly raise an Empyrean's soul by 30%. Wang Wei shook his head. Sometimes, it was a curse to be too strong. He slowly ate, and as described in the records, it was also quite delicious. By the way, how come Sun Junyo's faceless situation is not a much bigger deal? Wang Wei asked. No one can see through it except probably these two, Wu Hong replied as she also enjoyed the spine fluid. No one? Including paragons? Yes. Then she showed it to me, Wu Hong explained. She wanted to see if I could seal her flaw and give her a face. Sadly, I couldn't do it then. Then, Wang Wei caught the crucial part of her words. After reading about the perfect foundation and learning more about perfection, I think I can make a flawed seal. Flawed? Is it because the essence of perfection is transcendent level? Correct, Wu Hong nodded. So, my seal might give her an ordinary face. However, I'm unsure if I want to do that now. Oh, why? I kind of agree with you, Wu Hong explained. Of all living beings, she has probably the highest chance of taking a step in the transcendent path. If I act now, I might ruin her potential. Do you want to allow her to choose? Yes, but only after she sees you. What do I have to do with this? You'll see. Don't start acting like those old cultivators who like to act all secretive, only revealing half the truth and talking in riddles. Wu Hong rolled her eyes. Some things are simply not my business. Come on, give me something. She has a mental barrier to overcome, and meeting you is the key. That's all I'm willing to say. Wang Wei looked at her. What's with that look? Why does your relationship with her sound like a master and disciple? It's not like that, Wu Hong shook her head. As you know, I received much help from the female paragons during my growth, and to express my gratitude, I've been doing the same for any potential female cultivator. Girl power, Wang Wei waved his fist. Wu Hong once again rolled his eyes. What's the word? Cringe. Ouch. Wang Wei felt like a critical blow hit him. Is there anything worse than being called cringe by the woman of your dreams? This kind of mental devastation will instantly kill any lesser man. That was harsh, Wang Wei muttered. What were those two's reactions to her? If I had to guess, Mithria definitely studied her, but Supreme Unity might not dare, or he's cautious about it, Wu Hong replied. That makes sense, Wang Wei nodded. His way of taking that step involved taking over Heavenly Dao, which is Grand Dao's property. I'm surprised that the technique was not labeled as taboo. If he starts to involve himself in perfection, Grand Dao might interfere directly and eliminate him. His technique is a small taboo, Wu Hong admitted. It is? The aftermath of the Second Origin War was called the Ultimate Taboo because Qiyuan summoned all transcendent methods that have existed through time and space before condensing it into a trial. However, many of these methods were considered banned or minor taboos by Grand Dao standards. That makes sense, Wang Wei nodded. He once deduced that Grand Dao wanted people to achieve higher levels, but they had to stay within its created rules. My ancestors' plan sounds brilliant on the surface, but I can foresee how many things could go wrong in that trial. Oh, you have no idea, Wu Hong sighed. In that place, time overlapped. The past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Grand Dao interfered greatly. It was probably the most active it had ever been since ancient times. Finally, I'm pretty sure some terrifying existence showed up. Wu Hong could not tell for sure as everyone had lost a significant part of their memories. Wang Wei's eyes shone brightly. He could imagine how wonderful such a grand event was. Wait, I once deduced that my ancestor, Battle Maniac, was affected by some time shenanigan. There is also the fact that an entire era in the Eternal Ascension world was missing. Does any of those relate to the ultimate taboo? A look of disgust appeared on Wu Hong's face. Wang Wei has never seen her make that facial expression before. That damn curse master, she said with gritted teeth. Wow, such strong hatred. Wu Hong sighed. I met this paragon not long after entering the taboo realm in the Empyrean realm. We fought and were tied, but I stole an essential treasure from the secret trial. Since then, that woman has hated me with a passion. She dedicated all her time and effort to create a nasty curse called the Curse of Time Origin. Right after I broke through the Paragon realm, she attacked me, and we had a fierce fight. She lured me into the river of time, and as I was about to win, she released it. Hatred flashed in Wu Hong's eyes. The curse released a terrifying temporal storm that targeted my origin, the Myriad Emperor world. No way, Wang Wei was shocked. Such a thing was taboo as no one should interfere with the lower dimension. That woman must be crazy. That's not even the worst part, Wu Hong continued. The curse made it so I bore all the causality. In other words, Heavenly Dao would blame me for what had happened. Wang Wei sucked his teeth. So, what did you do? I did the next best thing, Wu Hong sighed. I sent the time storm to a future time point. After all, if the past me dies, it'll also die. Ruthless, Wang Wei commented. However, he would have done the same. What happened afterward? I killed her as quickly as possible before preventing the storm from continuing too much damage, Wu Hong sighed. I tried to revert things, but it was too late. That era was gone entirely. The best I could do was ensure no contradiction between my era and the next. Wang Wei nodded as he understood. Some people in the Myriad Emperor world have lived since before the Devil era. As such, they should have detected some anomaly about an entire era missing. However, there was nothing. Everything looked regular and perfectly continuous. Wang Wei sighed. He knew paragons were on another level, but events like this put it into perspective. So, how did you face Heavenly Dao's wrath? With merit and oath, Wu Hong replied. I had to borrow plenty of merit to offset my crime by a certain margin and to get Heavenly Dao to listen to me before judging me. Then, I swore to create the best defense system for the Eternal Ascension world. I only fulfilled that oath after I became a primal paragon. When she thought about how much time she had spent being indebted to heaven and earth, with her luck almost ruined, Wu Hong gritted her teeth in anger and hatred. Why did that woman hate you so much? It doesn't make sense to do all of this just because of losing to someone of a lower realm, Wang Wei said. The Curse Master would never have survived this ordeal intact as Heavenly Dao would also judge her. In fact, Your ordeal reminded me of my supreme outlaw trial, Wang Wei continued. It sounds like someone was manipulating events to either kill you or make you indebted. I'm 80% convinced Heavenly Tao did it on purpose, Wu Hong sneered. Oh, have you never wondered why our world did not suffer much given the grand scale of the Second Origin War? Wu Hong. Now that you mention it, Wang Wei frowned. With so many chaos worlds and factions involved, I'm sure the center of the war would have been our world. So, we survive because of your defense system? That's right, Wu Hong sneered. That thing probably predicted that event and schemed against me to create that system. Without becoming transcendent, all sentient beings are dogs and ants before Heavenly Tao. Even paragons are a slightly bigger nuisance, Wang Wei sighed. So, have you prepared your revenge? Yes, not just against it, but its boss, Wu Hong sneered. Although all these years spent creating that system was an excellent training experience, she hated how much she was used. That's my girl, Wang Wei chuckled. Who's your girl? She stared at him. Don't sweat the small stuff, Wang Wei replied casually. So, what was that era like? What happened to the emperors who ascended? Did any of them become paragon? It was a terrible era, Wu Hong explained. The resentments, hatred, and fiendish chi of me killing so many devils flooded into the myriad emperor world, making it extremely easy for people to develop heart demon and become crazy. It also did not help that all the cultivators were full of hatred, wishing nothing more than to kill as many devils as possible. Historians called it the Dark Mind Era, Wu Hong explained. In some ways, it may have been a good thing that that era was erased. As for what happened to the ascendants? Heavenly Tao just erased them to reduce the trouble, Wu Hong explained. And no, there were no paragons. Wang Wei wanted to slap himself for asking such a stupid question. She said she had just become a paragon, and from what I know about her, she was probably one of the youngest in recorded history. If Wu Hong had just become a paragon, how could the people who came after him become a paragon? So, unless more time shenanigans were involved, that would be impossible. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1267, The Banquet's second part, unedited chapter. So, do you know what happened to Battle Maniac? Wang Wei continued. Wu Hong had answered only one part of his previous question. I don't know much about what happened to him, Wu Hong replied. I know it had nothing to do with the ultimate taboo but an inheritance Qiyuan received from someone called the Trinity Venerable. He desperately wanted their 3 brothers and sisters to receive that inheritance, so he found a way to summon Battle Maniac to the past. Something went wrong, and Battle Maniac was the one who suffered as his Eternal Path achievement was rewritten. Wang Wei nodded. But how did he do it? Summon people to the past? He made a deal with the Time Cardinal for the first time, and the latter gave him a time exemption token, allowing him to mess with time to a certain degree with no consequences. Wang Wei was surprised. He went so far? What kind of inheritance did that Trinity Venerable leave? Wu Hong shrugged. Even though she was close with Yen Hai, she never mentioned that inheritance. You mention a second time. It should be when he summoned the Rainbow Emperor and the others. That's right, Wu Hong nodded. She then paused and looked at him strangely. What? Wang Wei was puzzled. For the second time, he used what he learned from the token to create a formation that used his origin Dao. From what I know, he wanted to summon the original 12 emperors of the Dao opening sect from across time and space. However, the formation failed when it was time to summon the 10th one. But in the 10th emperor, Wang Wei said. That's right, Wu Hong nodded. But I haven't sensed any summons? I don't know what to tell you, Wu Hong continued. No matter what Qiyuan did, he could not get past you, so he had to give up. However, they knew there would be something special about you since that day. Everything is connected somehow, Wang Wei sighed. Why do you think the summon failed? It's possible that your destiny was too strong, and you resisted the summon, Wu Hong replied. However, I'm more inclined to believe that Grand Dao knew your presence would affect the world too much if you travel through time and stop the process. That is indeed wise of it, Wang Wei sneered. He knew he would worsen the situation if he could participate in the Second Origin War. Wait, I was planning on asking the ancestor if he could use any means to send me to the past. Does that mean this path is not feasible? Probably not, Wu Hong replied. Dao overlords like yourself are natural troublemakers, so Grand Dao will place more limits on you. Wang Wei wanted to curse. But why do you want to travel to the past? I realize that I'm lacking in age and experience when dealing with old monsters like yourself. So, I figured I would go to the past and use that time to develop. Who are you calling old? Wu Hong rolled her eyes. However, I do understand since I face a similar situation. She had unparalleled talent and was confident in defeating anyone. However, problems arise when she meets people with the same talent as her or very close to her who have lived for a very long time. So, how did you deal with that problem? At first, I sealed and removed those old people's experiences to learn from, Wu Hong explained. However, that did not help as much as I wished, so I searched Primordial Chaos for an answer and found the Universe Imprint Trial, which contains the imprint of all paragons that have ever existed in the Chaos universe. I spent countless Yuan epochs fighting them and learning from them. It was also beneficial that time passes much faster inside the trial than outside. Wang Wei's eyes shined. Can you get me in? No, but I know that place is Battle Maniac's favorite place, so he has multiple entrance tokens. Get it from him. Wang Wei smiled in relief. As long as his ancestors have a way, he should have no problem getting in. Although he hasn't completely given up the idea of traveling through time, this was a backup in case he failed. Wang Wei was about to say something when he sensed something. He raised his hand to take out a talisman from the void. A communication talisman from the sect? He knew they would not contact him unless something significant occurred. He sank his divine sense into the talisman and received the information. Sun Junyao, summoning ritual, Mortalhood trial. This must be Xiao Tiandis' work. Does he want to catch up to me? Wang Wei shook his head. Have you heard of the Mortalhood trial? Yes, Wu Hong nodded. I once found a token for it, but I was already a paragon, so it was useless. Wang Wei was not surprised by these words, but simultaneously he wondered why this woman seems more lucky than him, someone who is favored by fate. Why are you suddenly asking about this? Wang Wei explained the information in the talisman. That's quite the clever plan, and it might work, Wu Hong praised. Do you still have the token? No, I exchanged it with someone else, Wu Hong replied. That's a shame. Wang Wei would not hesitate to take advantage of this situation and use this trial in advance. First floor, Sun Junyao praised the woman's wonderful poem about her beauty and nobility. The poem itself was wonderfully written, but she had heard so much praise of her beauty that it was hard for her to care. It also did not help that 99% of the poems, songs, and calligraphy displayed in this celebration were about beauty. As such, Sun Junyao showed more enthusiasm to the 1% who tried a different topic. I was hoping he would participate in this event. Unfortunately, Sun Junyao sighed as she looked at Wang Wei's booth through the corner of her eyes. Many people on the second floor came down to show up in front of her or did it from the second floor, but that booth remained motionless. Since he has no plans of acting, let's move things along, Sun Junyao thought. Fellow Taoists, she uttered, instantly quieting down the lively atmosphere by demanding the utmost attention. This is the end for this art appreciation section. Everyone was surprised as this event had just started, and only more than 20% of the people went on stage. The people wanted to complain. This was their only chance to show themselves before their goddess, but now it ended? However, since the goddess herself ended the session, they have no right to complain. Thank you to everyone who participated. It meant a lot to me, Sun Junyao said with a more pure smile. Her action removed all these people's resentment and bottled emotions in seconds. The next section will be Tao preaching, Sun Junyao continued. Everyone will have 1,000 years to preach, starting with Tier 10 cultivators. She waved her hand to summon a blue incense stick for everyone in the celebration. This is the heavenly beauty incense, she continued. When used in tandem with the formations in the palace, The effect is no weaker than a peak tier 11 Bodhi tree. Now, we will start with Immortal Veneral 6 Swords. Since you don't want to participate, it'll make you, Sun Junyao thought. By understanding what kind of Tao this fated lover cultivates and how deep his understanding is, she can peep at what kind of person he is. Thank you, Lady Sun, for giving me this opportunity, said Immortal Venerable 6 Swords, who was a handsome middle-aged man with the sharp temperament of a swordsman. Fellow Taoist, please give me thought on my 6-sword technique, created after absorbing 6 unique qi. The 4-pole qi, the heaven and earth qi, the supreme yin-yang qi, the profound yellow qi, the life and death qi, and the true self qi. Let's start with the 4 poles. Second floor. Wang Wei finally paid full attention to this celebration. Although he did not care about these people who resemble peacocks trying to show their beautiful feathers to attract a mate, he cared about the Tao preaching, which can benefit him. This 6 sword is very lucky and talented, Wang Wei commented. It was one thing to find 6 unique qi and another to fuse them perfectly. Additionally, he seems to have created a fantastic sword technique. He's from the Qi core race, so that's expected, Wu Hong replied. Wang Wei took a moment to remember this race, and he remembered that they were created in an attempt to recreate the celestial race's talent for Qi. Although the Qi core paled compared to the celestial race, some of their talented members rival the latter. Let's see if I can recruit him after this is all done, Wang Wei thought before closing his eyes and listening to the sermon. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1268 Future Husband and Wife Compete Unedited Chapter. Wang Wei listened attentively to Immortal Venerable 6-sword sermon, and once the 1,000 years ended he opened his eyes, having been inspired to create a few decent sword attacks. He noticed his future wife had also woken up, and her eyes were similar to his. Can this low-level sermon have any effect on you? He asked. He figured that, with her cultivation level, such a sermon would be child play for her. Maybe she was inspired to create something, but after living for so long, he believed she had already explored all possibilities of her Tao. Don't you understand why my sealing Tao is so potent? Wang asked. Knowledge, Wang Wei answered without hesitation. That's right. As such, I never stopped learning, no matter who the individual is, Wu Hong explained. Throughout my life, I've sent countless clones to infiltrate events like this so I can amass vast knowledge. Why could she seal almost everything? That's because she knew nearly everything, and to reach that level, she spent a lot of time gathering knowledge from everywhere and all kinds of people, no matter how weak they were. One of her primary motives in participating in the Second Origin War and being so active was to use the chaos and gather knowledge from everywhere throughout the chaos universe. Our Wang clan's daughter-in-law is a scholar? I'm sure the ancestor would see this as a blessing considering all of us are a group of rough men, Wang Wei chuckled. Wu Hong had to physically pause after hearing these words. Then she gazed at him, getting a little too comfortable, aren't we? You're absolutely right, and I sincerely apologize, Wang Wei said with a straight face and body language that indicated as such. This bastard, Wu Hong thought. She resisted the urge to slap him into oblivion as she could tell he was the opposite of sincere. Then, she displayed a charming smile. Such an act should have made Wang Wei reach cloud 9, but deep fear rushed into his soul instead. I'm suddenly worried about your safety and future, Wu Hong said, keeping that lovely smile. How about this? For my peace of mind, they'll train you after this event. Yes, only with my training can I feel reassured that nothing will happen to you when you face these people. Oh, common on woman, Wang Wei thought. It's written all over your face that you want to use this opportunity to beat me up. This is abuse. This is a crime of a wife abusing her husband. Sadly, he did not dare say these words out loud. Is this necessary? What do you think? Wu Hong replied, her smile still as angelic as ever. Fine, Wang Wei accepted his fate. He knew she would beat him, but she'd also train him, and there was no better teacher than her. I know I should never have trusted in that bastard fate, Wang Wei muttered under his breath. It lured me with the promise of a beautiful, talented, and strong wife, but without telling me the consequences. All my life, I've been suppressed by this woman. All right. Fine. But one day, I'll surpass her and have my revenge. After uttering these words, Wang Wei felt his spirit condensing slightly as he formed a second semi-obsession. Meanwhile, Wu Hong, next to him, obviously heard his mumble with her cultivation. Keep dreaming, Wu Hong thought. However, she felt the pressure. With how she was stuck before the gate that is transcendent, she knew, with his talent, it was only a matter of time before this bastard's strength reached the same level as hers and even surpassed it, since his foundation would be better than her, because achievements like 10 Supremacy Foundation, the title of Mortal Emperor, and more importantly, the perfect foundation and becoming an immeasurable emperor. And that's not mentioning how he achieved the taboo realm in all 3 realms while she only did it in 2. All these things may seem insignificant now, but they will become essential factors in how strong someone is in the primal paragon, and Wu Hong theorized they are even more critical once someone enters half-step transcendence. No, I can't let this bastard surpass me, she thought. Wu Hong could foresee how embarrassing it would be once that happened, and she knew he meant every word about making her pay. Should I just enter the dark truth and practice the perfection foundation? He did it and he's perfectly fine? She could not decide now but was leaning toward just doing it. Let's not make a decision now, but there are other steps I can take, she analyzed. The main goal is to become half-step transcendent before him. That is a must. The secondary goal is to improve my foundation. Countless thoughts flashed into her mind. It's impossible to make up for the Emperor Taboo realm since the price is not worth it, Wu Hong analyzed. According to her years of study and analysis, a kind of transformation will occur after becoming a half-step transcendent based on a person's achievement in the taboo realms. As such, if a cultivator wishes to benefit from it, they must do it at the appropriate realm. Wu Hong would have to reincarnate and start over to get the benefit of the Emperor realm. Such a price was not worth it since she did not know for sure what the benefit was. After becoming a transcendent, she hopes to make up for it in another way. I can acquire the 10 Supremacy Foundation by experiencing foundation reestablishment, but in my realm, it is extremely dangerous, even for someone like me, Wu Hong thought. However, I can increase my chances of success and decrease the mortality rate by training someone who achieves that foundation, sealing it, and taking it for my use. This plan is feasible, with the only downside being that she must find someone talented enough for the job. However, such a small problem was nothing to her. She could use resources to change someone into such a talent or even use her Grand Mist Wheel to create someone. Additionally, Wu Hong understood that talent was not the primary requirement for achieving the 10 Supremacy Foundation. Her training will be critical as she must ensure that the chosen individual has enough luck/destiny, wisdom, Tao heart, resources, and willpower. 10 Supremacy is still doable, but Immeasurable Emperor is something else, Wu Hong frowned. That was an achievement instead of a foundation. As such, if she wanted to receive its blessing, it was not as simple as cultivating someone and then taking it from them. When she met Wang Wei at the hot spring, she peeped at his past and saw everything he experienced in the lower dimension in order to get a non-biased understanding of his personality. As such, she knew that the critical factors to becoming an immeasurable emperor were to have a deep enough understanding of the Tao in the mortal realm and a Tao heart and willpower strong enough to create a path directly to the grand Tao source. Wu Hong knew that she could train such a person as long as she invested enough time and resources. However, that would not help since absorbing them is not enough to get the true blessing of the immeasurable emperor achievements. Instead, she would need to change her past, making it seem like she had achieved it. However, that path is not feasible, Wu Hong thought. Anything relating to messing with time is already complex enough, but that's not even the main reason this approach would not work. Wang Wei was the first immeasurable emperor of the Chaos Universe. If Wu Hong changed her past to acquire that achievement, she would be rewriting the history of the entire Chaos Universe. The backlash from such an act would instantly wipe her from existence. An alternate approach would be to create a causality-free clone, send it to reincarnation, and absorb it once it becomes an immeasurable emperor. However, that is another problem on its own, Wu Hong groaned. Due to their rarity, the methods of creating causality-free clones are among the most valuable things in the Chaos universe. People desperately search for them, as this is the only way to make up for past regrets without having to start over. It is the only widespread way to grant a second attempt at the eternal path without reincarnating and starting over. As such, emperors, empyreans, and paragons, who failed to become eternals, everlasting, and boundless, desperately wish to create a casualty-free clone. Wu Hong squinted her eyes. She knew that the rarity of this method was not even the biggest problem. These clones are one of the biggest pits in the universe. Causality-free clones are one of the ways these higher beings manipulate people, since it's easier to corrupt the clones and have them rebel against their creators. Unless, as a last resort, I don't want to use this method, Wu Hong contemplated. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1269 The Other Foundations. While dividing her mind into two to continue listening to the sermon, Wu Hong continued to deduce a better way to achieve the status of immeasurable emperor. In less than a second, her mind calculated 1 trillion possibilities, deducing countless ways for her plan. However, she did not like the solutions she came up with until the last one. This method is feasible, but it takes too long. Her main issue was she did not have much time for that bastard to catch up to her, so it would be pointless to delay even more with a method that takes so long. Wu Hong frowned until an idea flashed. How about I ask him? She narrowed her eyes. It will reveal much about him depending on what he answers. So, she waited until the person after Immortal Venerable Six Swords finished their sermon to ask Wang Wei. She told him everything, including her deduction of the importance of the foundation at the half-step transcendent realm. Meanwhile, Wang Wei looked at her with his mouth agape. He took a deep breath to calm down. Let me see if I get this correctly. You were inspired to improve your foundation to prevent me from beating you, no, rightfully get my revenge. But now, you're asking me how to prevent fulfilling my lifelong dream? How you summarize the situation makes it much more dramatic than it actually is. But it is this dramatic, Wang Wei said. In my life, there is only one opponent I've never beaten, and it's you. And you expect me to help you continue beating me? He did not hide his frustration, pain, and suffering. You're such a drama king, Wu Hong rolled her eyes. So, what idea do you have? Wang Wei grunted as he caressed his temple. She definitely spied on me somehow. Should I bring it up? Forget it. There is no point in fighting for something like that. Well, you can't use the causality-free clone. That's obviously a big pit. Wu Hong did not mention the downside of this method in detail, but Wang Wei could see it. He could deduce how many suckers suffered under this method. A few of them probably thought they were clever and tried to use reincarnation to better hide their clone by giving them a recognized identity. However, that is another suicide move. They might be lucky if they successfully hide that clone from the Yama Kings, but if they do not, then they are screwed. If any of these bastards have ever offended the Yama King or even gained their hostility for any reason, they can kiss that clone goodbye. And even if the Yama Kings don't do anything to it personally, they can just secretly release the news to the enemies of the original owner. But that's not the worst of it. Even if they could hide it from the Yama Kings, could they hide it from the Samsara Cardinal? So, sending a causality-free clone through reincarnation is like sending your weakness to a higher being. However, as bad as the causality-free clone is to people like us, it's a great method to create pawns at a higher level, Wang Wei commented. If he were on the level of the cardinals, he would spread these clones everywhere as pawns to do his bidding. Indeed, Wu Hong agreed. At that level, it's probably way easier to make those clones. More importantly, the backlash from them getting out of control probably serves no significant threat. They can probably use these clones to lure people into trying to create backlash for them. You still haven't answered my question, Wu Hong continued. Your best bet is to leave the primordial timeline, Wang Wei answered. There won't be much backlash, and if you can find a timeline where I haven't become an immeasurable emperor, then you'll be set. The myriad origin realms, why didn't I think of that? Wu Hong muttered. The myriad origin realm, also known as the Infinite Trichiliocosm, was a place of endless wonders, and the rules were indeed less restricted, making it an excellent place for Wu Hong's work. Wang Wei was not surprised she did not think about it. He had noticed the paragons in the primordial timeline were isolationist, mostly ignoring the endless wonders and benefits of the multiverse. He doesn't know whether this results from a sense of superiority for being in the primordial timeline or because Grand Dao has secretly been doing things in the shadows or something else, but it is there. "Thank you for your help," Wu Hong said brightly. Such an answer might appear small, but she knew how important it was. Throughout her long life, Wang Wei was not the first man who caught her attention. A few suitors have aroused her attention, but they all failed for one reason or another. The primary fault is that they usually envy her strength and talent. These people wanted to bring her down instead of climbing to the same level as her. They didn't want an equal partner, they wanted a submissive wife. Specifically, they wanted to turn Wu Hong, with all her prestige, power, and glory, into a submissive wife. "No problem," Wang Wei said as he closed his eyes. "No, I cannot let this go on. I refuse to be a wife-dominated emperor for my entire life. I must be on top once in my life by my own strength. Let's see, since she can improve her foundation, I can do it too. Where to begin? Since there is the 10 Supremacy Foundation, why can't there be things like 11 Limit Foundation, 12 Complete Foundation, and 13 Transcendent Foundation? And, I'm semi-satisfied with these names, but if you have better suggestions, I'm open to them." Numerous inspirations flashed into Wang Wei's mind. It's ridiculous to expect a mortal to have the strength of an Empyrean or Paragon. However, they can have second, first, and eternal tier strengths. And the number seems to match perfectly. 10 Supremacy corresponded to the third-class Emperor, and 13 Transcendent Foundation correlated to the Eternal Emperor. Yes. I can follow her path of training someone with the 13 Transcendent Foundation, then re-establish my foundation, and seal and absorb their power to reduce the risk, Wang Wei planned. He drooled thinking about the day she thought she was invincible, and he showed up with his newfound strength. "I just thought of something, help me deduce it," Wang Wei said with a gentle smile. However, Wu Hong did not like that cocky smile, feeling something was about to happen. Her intuition was correct. After hearing Wang Wei's plan for new foundations, the only thing left in her mind was, "This damn bastard. What do you think?" "It's feasible." She had to squeeze these words out of her mouth. It was already a time-sensitive issue for her to make up for those other foundations, but now there were more. It did not help that with the Mortalhood trial, this bastard would enter the Paragon realm too soon for her liking. Hee, Wang Wei chuckled. "Accept your fate of being dominated. Soon you'll know what it's like to be in my shoes." "You're too arrogant too quickly," Wu Hong snorted coldly. "Foundation is not everything as it represents more potential. There are many ways in this vast universe to make up the gap of strength." "Whatever helps you sleep at night," Wang Wei sneered. "Now, can you help me deduce if there are any potential problems with my idea?" Wu Hong snorted coldly before closing her eyes and deducing. A few hundred years into the sermon, she opened her eyes, her complexion not looking good. "What happened?" Wang Wei asked after noticing she had woken up. "It's not as simple as you had imagined," Wu Hong stated. "You cannot just skip to the so-called 13 Transcendent Foundation. Instead, you must experience Dao Foundation re-establishment for each, and the difficulty will rise with each one, along with the chances of experiencing true death." "Given how Grand Dao operates, I should have expected this," Wang Wei nodded. "The risk would not stop him. But why is your face like this? This news is not enough to rattle you, unless—" The smirk on his face was evident, and Wu Hong wanted to slap him. She was annoyed because she would have to waste even more time now. Previously, she thought she could skip the 10 Supremacy Foundation and go directly to 13, but now, she knew this was impossible. In other words, she would have to waste even more time catching up. Should I focus on becoming a transcendent while he's reinforcing his foundation? No, that would be putting the cart before the wool. According to her deductions, these foundations will bring immense benefits to the next realm, especially by combining the 13 Transcendent Foundation and the Perfection Foundation. If she's correct, Once they enter the realm with such a solid foundation, they'll be able to defeat at least 10 people on the level of Mithriya and Supreme Unity who used flawed methods, and 5 people who used flawless methods. And that's not counting the benefit of the Battle Taboo realm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1270 Interruption. Maybe I should take time to create or find some devastating secret techniques that increase battle strength, Wu Hong thought. Secret techniques are common in the cultivation world as they are usually ways for cultivators to drastically increase their strength by paying a price. They are typically used in desperate situations, and the most common methods are burning the blood, body, and soul to increase power. Secret techniques become more important at the pinnacle of the Paragon realm because they are the most widespread method of acquiring the title of primal. Of course, people who become primal through secret methods are at the bottom of the list. After all, you'll become weak after using this technique since you must pay a price, leaving yourself. Wu Hong smiled wryly, knowing this method would not work. If she became weak after defeating him with a secret technique, wouldn't that leave her open to being bullied? Could it be that she had to immediately run and hide every time she beat him? I must heal my injuries to the point of returning to the Paragon realm. Then, I'll enter the dark truth, and during the establishment of the perfect foundation, I can better heal myself when rewriting my existence. She had made up her mind. At this point, hesitating and delaying would only make the situation worse for her. Wu Hong suddenly felt a lot more relaxed after making that decision. It's been a while since I've been so motivated to improve. The feeling is not bad, Wu Hong nodded. More importantly, I cannot let this bastard ride over me. She smiled, feeling more confident than ever. Who is she? Empress Wu. She never feared or backed down from a challenge and was not about to do that now, even for her future husband. Wait a minute, Wu Hong thought. When did I start thinking of him so intimately? This bastard is so smooth. I fell for his scheme without even noticing. She looked back at their 2 meetings, and she had to admit, they got along so naturally as if they were 2 sides of the same coin. It's a good thing that we can get along so naturally. The path ahead is long, and it would be a nightmare if our personalities did not match. However, I still need to look at things more rationally, Wu Hong thought. She took a moment to look at Wang Wei from a rational and objective point of view. We are compatible in our personalities, ambitions, and drives. He has the strength and talent to keep walking forward with me and be a support on this long journey of the Tao. He is not selfish and intimidated by my accomplishments and challenges me to be better than I believe I could be. Besides a few other minor things I need to check later on, there are only 2 main issues, trust and goals. So far, he's shown me that he's reliable and trustworthy, but enough to put my life in his hands? Wu Hong thought about this deeply. The fact that she's willing to enter the dark truth indicates a high level of trust, but she views it more as a calculated risk. She saw the benefits, spent many years deducing and calculating, and after meeting Wang Wei, she made the final push to it. In the lower dimension, Wang Wei entered the dark truth mostly based on the trust of that clone. But if our situation were reversed, could I so unquestioningly trust him? Wu Hong asked, and she did not have to think long to know she would not. So, it's apparent that her trust in him is not that level, and she reckoned he does not trust her as much as he does that clone. That's fine. We can slowly get to know each other and increase our trust, Wu Hong thought. Trust can be cultivated over time, so there is no need to make a big deal out of this issue for now. Of course, it will be something else if they cannot cultivate their trust to a certain level after years of trying. At that point, she hopes they can part amicably. Finally, it's the issue of goals, Wu Hong continued. Wang Wei is obsessed with achieving absolute freedom, and she has her goals that she would not give up for anything. For people at their level of Tao heart, it's impossible to give up their grand pursuit of the Tao for something that is both fleeting and eternal as love. Here comes the issue. What should they do if their pursuit/goal clashes with their relationship? Should they give up their dream and focus on the relationship? Should one person sacrifice for the other? Or should they go their separate ways? Even worse, what if they have no choice but to become enemies? As previously stated, with Wu Hong and Wang Wei's Dao heart, they can't give up their goals, let alone sacrifice them for each other. So, they must come up with an agreement on how that would proceed. He previously had this conversation with that clone, but we must have it again, Wu Hong thought. She always felt that the clone was a little too in love or too emotional, which is fair if she comes from the future and has known him for far longer. As such, that conversation was too easy by her standards. These types of conversations are the kind that make or break a relationship. They can establish the foundation for a partnership that lasts for eternity, so there must be a much higher level of rationality than the clone used. It's good that we have a clear plan to proceed to the next stage of our relationship, Wu Hong thought. She had certain expectations but kept them under control to avoid being too disappointed when they were not met. As she said to him before, she looked forward to him bringing more color to her slightly dull life, but she was also happy with continuing with how things were. Wu Hong closed her eyes to focus on the sermon. Time passed, and the two did not speak much, with a few words in between. All the Tier 10 swiftly finished their sermon, and it was soon the turn of Tier 11. 6 preached, but something occurred when Sun Junyao was about to choose the 7th. She paused with a deep frown, making people wonder what had happened. So close. Why couldn't he have waited? Sun Junyao thought. She was about to choose Wang Wei's booth for the following sermon, but she received a message from one of her ladies that the special guest refused to wait any longer and demanded she see him. Sun Junyao was not happy. She planned to learn what kind of person that fated love was through the sermon, and in the third part of the celebration, she would propose they play a game of civilization chess and choose 3 people to be her opponent, and Wang Wei would be the third. Now, everything was ruined. Why did I expect any better from these people? Sun Junyao thought as she regained her composure. My deepest apologies, fellow Taoists, but I must leave early. What? People did not hide their shock and confusion. It's only temporary, but something urgent has come up, Sun Junyao explained. Once I return, I promise to sing a wonderful piece for all of you as an apology. Lady Sun, there is no need to apologize. We understand. Yes, take all the time you need. It is your celebration and we are guests, so we don't mind waiting. These degenerates were happy. The last time any public record of Lady Sun's voice was recorded was when someone accidentally recorded a small part and sold it at an unknown auction. An Empyrean literally sold his sect to get it, turning over all lands, treasures, and resources, and even the disciples and elders became slaves. The terrifying part is this price was low due to the fact it was too late when the news spread. I'm glad you can all be so understanding, but I will keep my word. Sun Junyao said. In the meantime, enjoy a dance from our palace's most talented lady. She slowly left the stadium, giving these people one last gift. Once she was out of sight, the announcer, a beautiful middle-aged woman with a strict, no-nonsense appearance, awaited her. Is everything all right? Sun Junyao asked. So far, we have found no issue. Very well, she nodded before heading to a secret room of the palace. Palace Lord, do you maybe want to change clothes? The announcer reminded Sun Junyao, making her pause and look at her clothes. That would indeed make the guest feel more special, she thought, and with a snap of her finger, her dress changed to a more casual, intimate, red and black. She also changed her hairstyle to be semi-formal. That's perfect. Let's go. Second floor. Wang Wei squinted his eyes after seeing Sun Junyao's departure. Are things about to start, or is this just a small prelude? He wanted to see what Sun Junyao was doing, but this palace was a potent treasure, and the formations were not a joke, rendering his powers useless. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1271 Lavish Gifts Blood Dragon, appropriately dressed in a blue and black robe, impatiently waited. He did not appreciate these ants having such a close and intimate relationship with his Sunner, but he allowed it long enough since he knew it would please her. However, he had allowed it to go long enough, and now was time for them to get to know each other. As for the so-called recompensation song, These people can only dream about it as long he's here. How could he allow these ants to share the joy of listening to his woman sing? Blood Dragon sneered. He suddenly sensed she was approaching, so he quickly condensed a mirror before him and checked his appearance. He found a small stain on his horn and swiftly wiped it. Then, Blood Dragon put on his brightest smile. "Yao, it's good to see you." Blood Dragon's eyes shine after seeing her new dress. He controlled himself to hide his happiness. He only wished he could rub in these people's faces, showing them how much special attention she was giving him. "Lord Blood Dragon," Sun Junyao bowed. "I've told you many times before that you can call me Aou. "In that case, Sir Aou," Sun Junyao said, her cheeks slightly red. "She did it. She called me by my name," Aoshan thought, trying his hardest to control his excitement. "I knew I made the wise decision to come here." That old man kept looking at him disappointedly despite not uttering a word, making him reconsider. Now, he knew he had made the right choice. Sun Junyao came and sat opposite the Blood Dragon, who was so happy that he felt like his spirit had flown higher than the 9 heavens. He looked at her in a daze. In his eyes, she had a human and a dragon form, and his focus was on the dragon. It was the most beautiful dragon he had ever seen in his life. It had the most magnificent black scale he had ever seen, and its scales were arranged so perfectly that they resembled a work of art from heaven and earth itself. Her eyes were purer than the whitest of snow, and her multicolored eyelashes gave her a coquettish spirit that drove him insane. Her horns were perfectly spaced apart, and their white color increased the dragon's nobility and beauty. Her 9 claws were slightly longer than regular female dragons, but they were perfect for the black dragon's slender body. Even her claws were the right amount of sharp, enough to be deadly, but also maintaining her elegance and nobility. "She's so beautiful, so perfect, Blood Dragon." "Sir Aou, you cannot just stare at a lady like this," Sun Junyao said with a blush. "Sorry about that," Blood Dragon said in embarrassment. He was so enthralled that he forgot his plan of acting more like a sophisticated gentleman. The room was momentarily awkward, so the Blood Dragon swiftly said, "Your strength is close to the Paragon realm, right? Well, I brought you gifts." He could tell Sun Junyo's cultivation was 88% Grand Dao source. "Lord Blood Dragon, I apologize for hiding it from you," Sun Junyao swiftly said. "It's fine," Lu waved his hand. "I understand that a lady like yourself needs to protect yourself. I'm not mad. I'll only be mad if you keep addressing me so informally." "Lord, I mean Sir Aou, thank you for your understanding," Sun Junyao sighed deeply. "I spent so many nights worrying about what you'll think of me, worrying you'll think poorly of me." "I would never," Blood Dragon swiftly reassured. "She thought of me? She thought of me." He was screaming in his internal voice. "You're so kind," Sun Junyao said with a pure smile. Blood Dragon instantly lost his mind. Luckily, he remembered he was about to show off with his gifts. So, he waved his hand to manifest a few closed wooden boxes. Aou opened the first, showing a paper with intricate symbols. "This is a dragon protection talisman that I refined myself. Although it's a one-time use talisman, it can block a blow from someone with cultivation as high as 95% Grand Dao source." Surprise flashed in Sun Junyo's eyes, but she hesitated to take it. "No need to hesitate," Aou said as he handed her the box. After a short hesitation, Sun Junyao forced 1 drop of her blood into the talisman to refine. "Next time, use soul refinement." "I don't like seeing you hurt," Lu swiftly said. The sight of seeing her bleed made his heart hurt. "Thank you for caring about me," Sun Junyao said with a flushed face. Aou suddenly felt invigorated. He opened another box with a pill that released 9 colors. "The 9-colored pill," Sun Junyao said in surprise. "This pill belongs to the category of Tier 11 pills, which are valuable because only paragons can refine them." "Exactly. With it, you can break the bottlenecks of nurturing a paragon soul in quality and quantity," Aou nodded. "There are many bottlenecks to reach the paragon realm, and the soul has 2. "Sir, this is too precious." "Nothing is too precious for you," Blood Dragon said. "And this is not the end." He opened another box. "Mother Lightning Branch," Sun Junyao said in surprise, as this was a Tier 12 material and another rare kind. Correct. Using it should reduce the terrifying effect of the immemorial tribulation. Blood Dragon has never forgotten the fear he experienced during his Paragon tribulation. Despite spending years of preparation, he barely survived. This is the infinite samsara pill. It should temper your Tao heart to a sufficient level to deal with the time-washing heart tribulation. However, be careful, as you may get lost in the infinite samsara and never wake up. This is a rare white luck good fortune stone refined from the luck of countless Empyrean. Don't worry, and there is no backlash. This is a Tao-pushing pill. You sighed after introducing this pill. It should have helped you increase your cultivation by 2% instantly without any repercussions, but this pill cannot be used to reach 90%, so just use it to reach the Empyrean peak. A proud look flashed deep in Aou's eyes after seeing the shocked look on Sun Junyo's face. Then he proudly continued. That's a primordial essence heart. It contains enough energy to train your body to the peak of Tier 11. However, do not, under no circumstance, open the gate of flesh before your immemorial tribulation, or the difficulty will be 100 times harsher. Sun Junyao took a moment to regain her focus. Sir Aou, why are all these gifts related to, Very astute of you, Aou chuckled. That's right. My greatest gift to you is the opportunity to enter the next realm. Sir, what about the other? I wouldn't want you to get into trouble. Aou suddenly felt a surge of pride and unlimited power. What can they do to me even if they wanted to? He sneered. And no need to worry, everyone made this decision. The frontier situation is not ideal, and we need more powerhouses so everyone gets a quota. I see. She looked at all the gifts. I can't believe the Lord is so generous. Of course, Aou replied proudly. One reminded me that you cannot become boundless. The others will not accept such a thing and will interfere in your promotion if you do. Aou ensured to emphasize to her that it was the others and it had nothing to do with him. That's fine by me, Sun Junyao replied without hesitation, making Aou nod in satisfaction. So, what do you think? Satisfied with my gift? More than satisfied. Then, how about you give a gift in return? What does Sir wish for? Sun Junyao asked, her face redder than blood. Aou wanted to say a kiss but resisted the urge. He knew he needed to take things slow, or he might ruin everything. Anything you deem appropriate. Sun Junyao pondered briefly. Her face showed some kind of internal struggle, but then she bit her teeth as a sign of resolution. She waved her hand to put all the gifts away and manifested a small table with a meat dish. This is a dish I've prepared especially for Sir. How about I feed it to you? Sun Junyao could not look him in the eyes as she said those words. Moreover, her face was so red that steam might have well been coming out of it. No problem, Aou said without any hesitation. He almost yelled these words, that's how excited he was. So, Sun Junyao slowly fed him. Her hands trembled, a sign that it was her first time doing something so intimate. However, that just made her more adorable to Aou. How about some wine? Sun Junyao acquiesced and fed him from the wine bowl. Aou could not describe the emotions he was currently feeling. Once the first bowl was finished, he asked for the second, and Sun Junyao shyly gave it to him. How about a third bowl? He asked shamelessly. This feeling was too intoxicating, and he could not help himself. It also helped that the food was probably the best he had ever had. However, he could not tell whether it was because of the taste or she was feeding him, probably both. No, that's enough. Plus, it's about time. What do you mean by that? Aou felt her tone was weird but could not immediately pinpoint how. However, he did not take long for him to find the answer. The blood dragon's face turned ugly as black veins materialized from his back and spread through every part of his body, including his neck and face. You poisoned me? It seems the death root poison was more potent than I anticipated, Sun Junyao commented. However, she was completely different from before. She was calm, composed, and indifferent. In her current state, people would not instantly notice her beauty but the ruthlessness emanating from her body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1272. Not just one death. Sun Junyao calmly looked at the dying blood dragon. She was a master at reading emotions, so she could tell from his eyes that he was still in disbelief that she would betray him. She shook her head. He was just like everybody else. Sun Junyao sighed, thinking about how much effort she had taken before reaching this point. A look of annoyance flashed in her eyes. Do you know how much time and effort I've spent just on that deathroot poison alone? After you guys used the world's luck to cast a causality spell that destroyed anything that threatened you, almost all poisons in the world were destroyed. They were nowhere to be found. Sun Junyao wanted to be angry, thinking how many rare resources these parasites destroyed so that they could protect themselves. The only place with such poison was those top lineages, Sun Junyao continued. But they were sealed or did not want you to use an excuse to plunder their sects, so they refused any of my attempts to get my hands on one. As fate would have it, I found that destroyed deathroot and wanted to revive it. However, you people kill all poison masters, alchemists, or spiritual herb planters capable of such a feat. Sun Junyao looked at him with pity. Fate is truly against you. There happens to be a talented poison cultivator in the lawless zone with the skills to revive and even improve on it. The next step was to get you into ingesting it without noticing. For this part, I would like you to meet one of the greatest contributors. Sun Junyao clapped her hands, and a middle-aged man with streaks of white hair on the side of his hair walked in. His body naturally emanated a scent of spices. He looked at Blood Dragon with unrestrained hatred. Remember him? Sun Junyao asked. You probably do, since he's the only gift from you that I've ever accepted. Well, I have to thank you. Without all his excellent food, I would never have such a rapid cultivation speed. More importantly, this plan today would have never succeeded. He integrated the death root into your food so perfectly that your body would not detect it as a poison. Instead, it will see it as a nourishing substance. Sun Junyao then pointed at the palace's ceiling to manifest an array. The next step was asking Lady Wu for this array that suppressed your sense of danger, and voila. Of course, it helps that you were so fanatic, for lack of a better word, about my beauty. I'm sure that was a great distraction from the danger surrounding you. Roar! A potent dragon roar emanated from Aou's mouth. With a twisted fist, he managed to summon a decisive blow as he summoned a red dragon phantom that rushed. The palace trembled, but nothing else occurred. A shield appeared before Sun Junyao and the cook named Chen Shu. Weren't you paying attention to the banquet? Sun Junyao asked. Lady Wu granted me a protective talisman. How can someone like you break something she made? Know your place, little reptile. Aou's eyes turned red. Nothing dragons hate more than being called lizards, snakes, or reptiles. He stared at Sun Junyao. Oh, so many emotions, including some vile things you think you're going to do to me once you get out of this situation, she commented. However, more than anything else, you wish to know why I'm doing this. Am I correct? She asked him. I'm going to take that as a yes. Sun Junyao nodded. I'll tell you. Lady Sun, I think we should activate the poison and accelerate his death, Chen Shu said. Is that your way of saying I'm speaking too much? She asked him. I wouldn't dare. You don't understand, Sun Junyao continued. I've been planning this for so long and had to keep it a secret to ensure nothing was leaked. Now is my chance to show off. How can I let it go so easily? She focused on Aou. To answer your questions, there are many reasons why I did this, including all the atrocities you've committed, how you, parasites, have blocked the way forward, revenge for my cook, and revenge for scheming against my apprentice and turning him into a waste. However, none of those are my primary objective. For those, I only have two. Firstly, you killed my second apprentice. Aou looked at her confusedly. He did no such thing. It was an accident, but I don't know if that makes it worse or better, Sun Junyao continued. I once met this blind little beggar boy and surprisingly discovered he could not see me. I know you think my words are odd, but that's because you don't know that my accursed beauty works even on people without any sights or visual detection. As long as I'm close to them, their idea of the perfect beauty will manifest in their mind. However, that boy was truly blind, eternally without a sight. I knew he was special and planned to cultivate him, but my greed ruined him, Sun Junyao sighed. You have no idea how exhilarating it felt to talk to someone not influenced in the slightest by beauty. The boy was only 8 and was utterly ignorant of the world, but I enjoyed our conversations. I enjoyed cultivating his curious mind. Alas! A deep sadness enveloped Sun Junyao. I knew as soon as he became my disciple, our dynamic would change and we could not converse normally, so I delayed things just to enjoy that brief peace and tranquility. Sadly, fate had other plans. I only left for 10 minutes to deal with things at the palace, but when I returned, you wiped out the entire mortal dynasty. Later, I learned it was not even intentional. You had a confrontation with someone and blatantly used your aura in an area full of mortals, killing everyone around. My poor apprentice. Sun Junyao looked at him with a fierce gaze. That's why I chose you out of all the other 8, Sun Junyao said coldly with indifferent eyes. In the next second, her demeanor returned to calm and a little more positive. Of course, I cannot say that's my main reason, that would be hypocritical. After so many years, I've properly mourned little Ergu, Sun Junyao continued with a slight smile. My primary motivation is reputation. I'm tired of people seeing me as nothing but a beautiful vase, someone whose only value is their face. What better way to change my reputation than to kill a paragon and, more importantly, be the one to start the end of this era? A hint of brilliance and madness flashed in Sun Junyo's eyes. After killing you, my name will forever be transcribed in the annals of history. From now on, people will not know me as Sun Junyao, the most beautiful woman in the world. They'll know me as Sun Junyao, the Paragon Slayer, the herald of end of this terrible era. Won't succeed. Oh, but I will. Blood Dragon fell to the ground, his soul scattered, and his body turned into this black ash that dispersed a few seconds later. You should leave since the next part might be dangerous, Sun Junyao ordered. Are you sure you don't need my help? Qinshu asked. Don't worry. It'll be fine. I've rehearsed this for so many years that I'm prepared for most variables. As you wish. Chen Shu disappeared from the room, and a few seconds later, Blood Dragon reappeared in the room. The process of returning from limbo was slightly disoriented, but he soon realized what had happened. Relife talisman, he said with gritted teeth. Exactly, Sun Junyao nodded with a smile. I figure, given how many resources you've leached from the world, there should be a few third-rank longevity resources. Blood Dragon quickly calmed down. Now that I'm not poisoned, do you think you have a chance? He did not hide his sneer. Then why don't you attack me? Sun Junyao asked, calmly waiting for him to make a move. However, even after more than 5 seconds, the dragon only looked at her while secretly analyzing the surroundings with his divine sense. Truly a coward, Sun Junyao uttered while shaking her head. I often wondered how people like you survived the time-washing heart tribulation. I guess that's not fair. Maybe in your prime, you had a pure and courageous heart to pursue the Tao, but after becoming thieves that stole the world's power, you indulged yourselves in power politics and thought only about how to preserve your power by keeping everyone else down. Sun Junyao was genuinely disappointed. Alright, since you want to take action, I will. She raised her hand to snap her fingers. Blood Dragon reacted. The difference between their strength was astronomical, so all of Sun Junyo's actions were in slow motion in his eyes. He raised his hand to release a devastating blood magic. However, as soon as he mobilized his power, Blood Dragon fell to his knees, holding his heart. You? Wondering how I knew about your bloodline curse. Well, let's just say you're not keeping as secret as you think, and many of the dragons under your control would do anything to get in my favor, she replied with a smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.